No matter which mouth you feed on a two-headed snake, it still shits the same turd. But lucky for you, you have Mox News. More than 10 years. More than 60,000 videos. Mox News has been filtering the nonsense and illuminating the bullshit from your mainstream media. Turn off your TV and turn on to Mox News. For over a decade, documenting the socio-political events that have etched and carved the pathways that define today's modern mess, Mox News has been providing clarity while faithfully bringing you today's relevant stories 100% commercial-free and subscription-free. And just like Lady Liberty vows to remain free. But at this time, we're asking you for your help, your patronage, and your support to keep the lights on and the videos rolling. For less than 17 cents per day, you can become a basic subscriber, knowing that your donation is truly making a difference that will help continue bringing the news stories that make a difference in your life. Turn on, tune in, and drop a couple dimes today by clicking the link below or visiting moxnews.com and show your support at any level. From a single one-time donation or dedicated monthly subscriber, do it now in less than 2 minutes. All donations are safe, securely processed, and verified using PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Discover Card. As always, we're sure you'll find something of interest each and every day. This holiday season, give the gift of Mox. moxnews.com.
Hello, my little ninjas. My name's Mike. This is my YouTube page, Mox News. And welcome to your Wake and Bake News at 7 p.m. I'm your host, Moxie. And there's my co-host, Boo Bear. What's up, buddy? Hey, can you hear me? Pizza? Cheeseburger? Kitty? Kitty? Do you see the kitty? Nope. I guess not. What about the Pikachu? You see the Pikachu? No. Okay, so where were we? Right. Tomorrow night we're doing a very special show, and I hope that you'll all tune in. Tomorrow night's going to be an episode that's going to be heartwarming, heartfelt, and hopefully eye-opening. It's titled, What the Hell is Wrong with Mike? And it's an excellent question. Many people have asked in the past. I even ask myself sometimes. Tomorrow, we will do our best to, I will do my best to at least explain partially what the hell is wrong with Mike. It's really a complicated question. That being said, so it's going to be a pretty cool show, I hope, and hopefully you'll be able to tune in. Also, I have come to a conclusion about why I am wearing the clothes that I was wearing when my girl passed still. And I think I have figured out why I've been doing that. So I will answer that question tomorrow, and hopefully I will have changed my clothes by then. At any rate, what does that picture say? Can you guys hear me? Is it okay? Can you hear me? I don't know what the arrow with the thing and the arrow is. What is the thing with the arrow and the thing? I don't know what that is. So I have lots and lots of videos for you tonight. There's got to be at least 8 of them. And they're all about the COVID and the frontline, the first responders, and the COVID mandates and the mask mandates and such. So I don't like to talk about this very much. That being said, I think that this COVID vaccine mandate is going to backfire on the people that are trying to force it onto the people. Like in Washington State, the governor has ordered that all state employees have to get the vaccine, right? And also all healthcare workers, and all nursing home workers. So and they're having this problem. We're seeing protests in the street, firefighters, police officers, nurses, right? Frontline people saying, yeah, I don't want the vaccine, keep the vaccine away from me, and you have no right to try and force it on me. I have numerous videos about that coming up. And I think it's a really important discussion because there's other things in here. Like I have a video about restaurant owners, right? And how the waiters are being made to be these vaccine cops, right? If you work at a restaurant, you're now forced to ask people to show you know that they've been vaccinated, and then if they don't, then you have to like ask them to leave, and it's just a pain. You know, this is not what a waiter signed on for. You know, and I find and then the restaurants are having a really hard time on top of it. You know, so people still aren't back to work fully, and you know, so and I have that video, and I linked it together with another video about a Seahawks game last weekend, where you have to show proof of vaccine, and which apparently wasn't happening, and you have to wear a mask, which the video shows that people are not wearing masks and nobody's enforcing it. So meanwhile, the restaurants are forced to do this thing, but the Seahawks aren't. You know. So we'll figure out what's going on here, and then I have a couple other videos. The Victoria's Secret's models are speaking out against the mandated vaccine, which I would think would get more attention. So far as I can tell, it has not, and have this story about mask mandates for children in schools, right? And I kind of want to start there because I don't really understand why children are in school. You know, it's if we're in the middle of this deadly plague, if it's not safe enough for the children without covering their nose and their mouths, if it's not safe enough without that, then it's not safe. So why are the schools back open? We keep hearing about this super spreader events, right? Well, if it's not safe, and this video that I have coming up, they talk about how like 1,000 or 2,000 kids had to be quarantined just in like the first week of school because they came in close contact with someone who tested positive, right? So how can this not be a mass super spreader event to send the kids back to school, right? I also have a story about ABC News saying that that the government is lying about the amount of people that are dying from COVID. That's ABC News source. I will play that in a minute. Again, the thing with the kids in the schools, I don't understand. I don't have kids. I've never wanted to have kids. I don't want to have this kind of responsibility, you know. That being said, you know, if we're in the middle of this deadly plague, right, how can you possibly send your kids to this super spreader type event, which is going to be brought back to your home? And the vaccine has proven not to keep people from getting COVID. So it's, I mean, it's the governments that shut down the school. It's the government that's opened the school. I don't see any difference from, you know, where we were before, apparently. You know, before it was dangerous and we're all going to die. Now it's dangerous and we're all going to die. And we got to send the kids to school. I mean, And I hear parents talk about, oh, my kids need to be with their friends and they need to get out and do stuff. Well, then get your kids' friends to come over and go out and do stuff. They don't need to go to this super spreader event in order to hang out, in order to be friends, And they're probably hanging out at least 50 or 60% of as much as they would if they were going to school, because kids hang out online now. Okay? They don't hang out together. They all online going, look at me, I'm special. Just like I do every day. And they are special. We all know that. But again, I don't understand. And then there's this thing with the mask, right? If you have a kid and has to wear a mask 8 hours, is it safe to wear just that one mask for 8 hours? Or, continuously? Because from what I see, after, an hour or so, they get kind of icky. And so is the school supplying the masks, right? And are they being told to change their mask every few hours? All of this, I just don't get kids being in school. If we're in the middle of a deadly plague, how can you be sending your kids to school? Please explain that to me, if you can. Hello, caller.
Hello, Michael. This is Steve McClanahan. I'm fucking drunk as fuck right now, and I'm just wondering, when are you gonna put on a fucking mask, you motherfucker? You're gonna fucking talk about the mask, and you got a mask on?
No, but I have one in my pocket. Have one in my pocket right here. See? Got one in my pocket.
You have a fucking mask? I have a mask on, too. I fucking sit at home, currently at my apartment, and I wear a mask to keep COVID away from my fucking self. And I'm telling you, as a journalist, I'm gonna fucking put mask. I've lost my mind. I have mask all over my body, like fucking a psychopath, Hellraiser fucking guy. I have mask on myself, and I'm never letting the mask go. That's what I have to do as a journalist. I went to law school and journalism school with, tradeism school with, the weather school. I've definitely learned about the weather at school, and as a journalist, I'm fucking put my mask on just like you. And I have them all over I have them on my elbows, I have them on my ankles, I have them on my, fucking goddamn fucking shins and shit, because if you are walking really fast and stupid, you might fucking hit your shin like a fucking retard. And you know what's a great thing to happen? Is having a shin pad on. Sorry that I said the R word. You wanna argue right now?
Not with you.
Did I have the wrong word currently? I mean, put your fucking mask on, sir.
Don't tell me what to do.
When you walk into my establishment,
yeah,
you can be saying R words or not having mask on, and I swear to God, this is America, and you need to America needs to shut the fuck up. This is what I'm saying. As I've learned here, keeping the mask on my face as a journalist and sucking in the mask, I need to realize as a journalist that I need to shut the fuck up. I need to shut the fuck up more.
The sooner the better.
Shut the fuck up more. I need to put more knee pads on and fucking more elbow pads and fucking more pads on my face and fucking... You know what, dude? I've been working on a legit superhero fucking mask, okay? So I'm cutting the eyeballs out of very thin People might think I'm an Asian journalist, but I'm not really. It's just a fucking mask. Michael, this is breaking fucking news. We are trying to go out there in the fucking zombie world of fucking everyone is diseased. They are diseased, Michael. This is Steve McClinton, huh? And the fuck can I do anything out there?
We all keep asking that,
is
Steve.
Diseased.
All right.
Disease, Michael.
All right.
Michael, I gotta go.
Okay.
I gotta fucking go.
Okay.
You're diseased.
Okay.
And your call could disease me.
Okay.
Seriously, you could disease me off of this fucking line right now.
Thanks for calling. Thanks for calling. Good to hear from you.
COVID well, we love you out here in COVID land. Obviously, COVID's coming for everyone through the phone lines.
I gotta go.
That's the next step. Oh my God. Breaking news, Michael!
You gotta go.
I gotta go.
Alright. Alright, so let's see. He was talking about the zombie apocalypse. Now, in coordination with tomorrow night's show, which is titled What the Hell is Wrong with Mike? You might want to reference a movie called A Boy and His Dog. It is 1975, Don Johnson's first movie, I believe. Don Johnson from Miami Vice fame, it's like after like a nuclear apocalypse, right? And there's no food to be found. There's very few people, and Don Johnson and the dogs have gained the ability to speak from radiation or whatever it was, but they've lost their ability to hunt. They can't smell things anymore. So so it's I can't say it's a great movie. I can't say that I love the movie, but I love the idea of the movie. I love the idea of just walking with your dog. So that's kind of like my ideal situation, if you're wondering what's wrong with Mike. After the nuclear apocalypse, just hanging out with my dog. Okay. Yes, that was a great caller, wasn't it? POS. So we should start with a video about, let's see, where were we? We're talking about COVID numbers, school mandate mask. Okay, I want to stay with this school thing because, again, I don't understand. We're in the middle of a deadly plague. We're all going to die. And somehow a priority is getting your children back into school at this super spreader event so they can hang out with their friends or be studying. I don't understand what it is people are thinking when it comes to getting their children in school. I'm going to go ahead and heat up the bong, so if anybody wants to take a bong hit after this video, we will be doing so. This is clip number 10, so pay attention, people.
With the new school year upon us, students are adapting once again to changes brought on by coronavirus.
With masks as commonplace as books and pencils, one school district is going beyond state guidelines with the mask guidance.
And as King 5's Eric Wilkinson shows us, that means along with lunch and recess, students will now be taking mask breaks during the day.
At last report, the school district told us not even half of the eligible 12 to 17-year-olds in the district have been vaccinated. As a result, all students here and across the district will have to wear masks not only in their classrooms, but outdoors as well.
It's nothing to be scared of. It's just another precaution so that we can continue having a good school year.
Among the lessons being taught in Edmonds classrooms this year, a new mask mandate for students. Marano Bianco heads the district's COVID response.
We know that COVID was going to happen within our school environments. We're not a COVID-free environment. And it's just figuring out how are we going to respond to the cases that we do receive.
I know it's different, but because of COVID, we have to stay safe.
Edmonds administrators are now requiring all students to wear masks both inside school and outside, even during recess.
Nice job. Very good one.
Children and students are social creatures. They are going to gather, and we're just trying to utilize our mitigating factors as best as possible, masking being one of the primary mitigating factors in this process.
The district made the decision despite guidance from the State Department of Health stating masks are not required outdoors, as well as evidence that the virus doesn't spread as easily outside. Why take that extra step to mandate them outdoors?
Just because we have seen a number of cases within our environment. We're social creatures, and so we want to be close to each other, and so this is very difficult for many of our children and youth to maintain.
Case in point, Edmonds schools saw 12 positive cases in the first 2 weeks of school alone. But some worry how much masking is too much. With that in mind, the district is now offering mask breaks, where kids can take off their masks if they need to, as long as they're supervised, 6 feet apart, and not near a doorway. Administrators say some might not like it, but their goal is to maximize masking to minimize school closures.
What we need to do is really look at how can we make our schools as safe as possible so our students can continue to be in school.
Administrators tell us they are taking every possible opportunity to hold classes outside so the kids can have their masks off. That is, as long as they stay at least 6 feet apart. They acknowledge, however, that may be a little bit more difficult once winter sets in. In Mountlake Terrace, Eric Wilkinson, King 5 News.
Let's see. Okay, so again, the kids thing. I'm ready to take a bong hit if anybody wants to join me. I don't understand the thing with this having kids going to school. I don't know what it means to have children. I don't want to know what it means to have children. But I don't understand this at all. Middle of a plague, middle of a deadly plague that we keep telling we're in the middle of this deadly plague. Can't let our guard down. How can sending kids off to, the super spreader event be the proper thing to do? Here we go. I'm feeling much better now. Back to this thing with the kids. Again, I don't know what it's like to have kids. I don't want to know what it's like to have kids. Just having dogs, you've seen what that does to me. They become this priority in my life where, they pretty much take precedent over anything else, and I want it to be that way. I have this love that I don't want to change or lessen in any way, and I imagine that's kind of how it is to have kids, right? So I would think. Now, see, the difference between dogs and kids is I don't have to worry about taking the dogs to school. I don't have to worry about the dogs getting COVID. From what I understand, well, the veterinarian just told us that the dogs don't get COVID. So, although I have shown news stories on this channel in which the news was telling us that the dogs get COVID, perhaps they were just saying that they tested positive for COVID, which tells you a lot if you listen to what my veterinarian said. Hello, caller.
Hello, Mr. Mox. This is the Pentagon calling you right now. And it seems like you've had a lot of beefs with a lot of our agencies out here. The CIA, the FBI, the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms agencies, plus the Pentagon. You know what, I'm calling as a janitor. Okay, I listen to your show. I don't need you, ragging on my work location. it's already hard enough being a janitor over here at the Pentagon. Do you know what it's like being a janitor over here at the Pentagon, sir?
No.
Could you ever imagine the shit that I have to clean up in the restrooms as a janitor at the Pentagon, sir?
No.
Do you know that I have to say sir after every fucking thing that I say, sir, at the Pentagon, sir? Do you know that? No. You don't. Because you're not a janitor at the Pentagon. Could you imagine what it's like being a janitor at the fucking Pentagon, let alone the FBI? I used to work at the fucking FBI as a janitor.
Do you have to?
Holy shit!
Let's see. Hello, caller.
Hey, Mike. How are you doing tonight?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good, actually. I was kind of expecting Craig. Thought I'd have a little chat before I got to talk to you, but I hope you're doing well. Did you have a good day? Did you go for a walk, even though the dog isn't around? Have you been walking?
Yeah, we walk every day.
Good. That's a really good practice. I wanted to talk about that last news story that you played about the kids.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And there was something in that story that really bugged me. And that was when the reporter said that kids are social creatures. And I think she said that twice.
Yeah, I remember that standing out to me also.
Right. So kids are social creatures. While these fucking people have masks on and are speaking to you, hiding their faces, they're telling you that children are social. And that they're going to fix this problem by not allowing them to be social anymore. So we're going to fix the problem, and they're not going to be social anymore. They're going to wear a mask. As though being social and showing your face and talking to people and being a human being is somehow unworthy, or is dirty, or is just, there's something wrong with that. The way that was phrased, the woman answered that question. Kids are social creatures. Of course kids are social creatures. Human beings, Homo sapiens are social creatures. And these scientists and these reporters want to eliminate the humanity from us, is what it seems like to me.
They're doing their best to eliminate the thinking process entirely. They don't want you to think about stuff. They just want to explain everything like it's really talk based, like you don't know anything to start with. So if they speak with you like that and it's something that kind of appeals to you, then basically you're giving them a blank slate to use, and then they just tell you what to think at that point,
Yeah, that is what is going on. It's a form of mind control, that would make, in the United States, we always used to talk about Pravda being an illegitimate source of news, during the Soviet Union. Say, oh, Pravda said this, and then all of a sudden nobody in the United States would believe anything that was said in Pravda. Well, I mean, we've pretty much reached the same level where you have to decipher the news. You have to break the news down before you can even understand what the fuck is going on. And most people aren't going to take the time to do that. Just that's what happens.
I don't think most people have. Look, there's this bombardment of information, so-called information. It's really misinformation, But the point is that there's so much of it, and it's just this never-ending stream to where almost you don't have the opportunity to decipher it. It's just never-ending. And I think that's what people are caught up in a lot, is this 24-hour news cycle.
Yeah.
And it just keeps reinforcing what you heard, and people are so busy and they want just kind of a minute to tune out. I think that's why fantasy, television and movies and stuff is so popular.
Video games.
Yeah, right. They just
popular.
want a minute to not think about the bullshit. So It's
I think you're
so
right about that.
yeah. So in searching for that minute, and then also being whatever exhausted from being overworked or whatever, they don't really have the ability or the time to decipher anything.
Yeah, like the whole thing about having to go to work and all the responsibilities associated with that, in addition to your family responsibilities and so on and so forth, just makes a person so stressed out that they can't find time to find information and then decipher the information and break down the media. It's much easier to just relax in your chair for 10 minutes and put on something that's soothing, like NBC News Nightly Report or something like that.
You
trust.
Yeah, I don't even think that it's easier to do it. I just think that they're kind of like desperate for like 10 minutes to relax, and it's not so much that it's easy to do as that they want it so bad and they're trying to get to it, and it's this thing that might not even be achievable by them, and then they're just like let down in that way too, and stressed out in that way, and then they don't get the relaxation that they really need. So it's understandable where I don't blame the people. I really want them to stop looking at each other like somehow they're the enemy or they're the threat, when obviously it is the people that are telling you that those people are the enemy and the threat.
Yeah, and if you disagree with somebody, you have to at least give them their dignity. So while you're speaking with
unless
them,
it's
you
Steve
give them their
McClanahan.
dignity. Well, that's a different story. That's an exception to the rule. But like I worked at this cannabis farm for the last couple of months with their harvest. Today was the very last. It was the first full day of autumn, and it was the last day of the harvest as well. And the last thing I cut today was what was it? It was a strain called Flow Dew, which was kind of a generic strain, just a hybrid strain. It was nothing really unique. And then right before that, I cut some lemon meringue and missing grape, and those are the last strains that I cut from the outdoor harvest this year. So that was a strange thing to look at all of the hoop houses that had been cut, because just like 4 weeks ago, they were just filled with all of these plants, like 4,000 plants or something. And now it's just all of these, just containers. There aren't any plants there.
Do they take the hoop houses down, or they like?
No,
yeah.
They leave the hoop houses up, and then instead of containers, they use plastic bags. So they use like 1 gallon plastic bags, I think is what they use, and then they're just filled with soil right now and with stems and roots. And then in the next couple of weeks, they'll go around the property and take all of the bags and separate the soil from the compostable material, and then prep for the next year.
They grow in 1 gallon bags. Is that what you said?
Yeah, strange, huh? That's
well, no,
really
it seems small, but I keep being told you can grow giant plants in small containers.
Yeah, so they use they're not growing in soil, they're growing in a medium, and they're just giving liquid fertilizer to the plants, like a moss-based medium, like sphagnum moss or peat moss-based medium with vermiculite, and it's just basically the nutrients. And as far as the stalks, they're about, I don't know, the biggest stalks I saw today were probably about between the size of $0.25 and $0.50, about a quarter, size of a quarter, at the base of the stalk.
And how much do they harvest from each plant approximately?
It really varies a lot,
from
strain to strain.
Yeah.
And whether they're and then they choose strains like for hashing. They choose strains that have, I guess, I don't know how to explain it, but on the bud it has a lot of surface area. And the more surface area it has, the more trichomes it can grow on the surface area. So all the folds in the bud and all of the all of the different parts of the plant, they have trichomes all around them. So they want like fluffy but dense buds. So there's certain strains that they grow for their hash. But as for production, I don't know. It's really, I guess, And it's all wet, so you have to always. When you
Yeah.
plant a plant,
No,
you have
I'm
to
just
think it's
wondering,
gonna
you
be
know,
like-
because gallon bag. I was just wondering what they're.
Yeah, so like I would say so like if you take a regular black trash bag, I could probably get 2 plants in that trash bag with the stems and everything, you know, with the whole plant.
A 50-gallon bag? Are you saying a 50-gallon trash
yeah,
bag?
like a big brute, you know, 55-gallon trash bag or something like that. I could probably get 2 plants in there with everything, you know, cutting it from the base. But for bud, I don't really know the answer to that question. Like I haven't really measured it, you know, exactly for the amount of production. It really varies a lot.
Yeah. No, I would expect the same thing.
And the other thing is some of these plants that we're cutting just basically because they have the labor and they need to cut them. But a few of them, these strains, could have been grown for an additional 2 to 3 weeks. However, you know, so they're just cutting them for convenience because they have labor to cut them right now. However, you know, some of them could grow longer. They are one of the first farms here in southwestern Washington and western Washington to get out, you know, to get their production out. We had all of our harvest finished, you know, on the first day of fall, and that's a few weeks before last year, and we were one of the first farms last year for production in western Washington. They have to get everything in before the 3rd week of October, pretty much, or they're screwed because of mold. You know,
yeah, the people I used to buy nutrients from always said it needs to be by the 2nd week of September. So.
Yeah, well, you can stretch it, and our summers also have been stretching longer too. You know, I don't know if that applies to all vegetables and all plants, but like our summers, we've had some long summers. I think as climate change or whatever, as the weather changes, it seems as though our summer starts a little later than normal, and then it lasts a little later than normal. You know, more or less. So whatever. Farmers, keep your fingers crossed if you're growing outdoors in western Washington, for sure.
Or anywhere else.
So that was, or anywhere else. I saw plants. So the person who ran this farm last year, who was the primary manager, he left last winter and went to Michigan, and because they just legalized cannabis in Michigan, and he was hired by, I don't know, some money, a consortium of money, and he's getting a pretty decent salary, and he's growing 10 acres in Michigan, like in kind of a traditional, you know, ag setting, like 10 acres of land, a rectangle, and then just growing plants in rows, like you would grow corn, for example.
Cool.
And I saw photographs of his plants today, and they hadn't been cut yet. He hasn't started cutting yet, and he only has like 4 weeks until the first frost.
Yeah.
And he has to cut like.
I would think it gets cold there pretty quick.
Yeah, and as soon as there's a couple hard frosts, it's over. So,
some of the Canadians are telling me that they have plants that'll grow in the snow. So.
Yeah, and I remember, you know, whatever from days of yore and being exposed to cannabis my whole life. That ruderalis is like it's a genetic strain from Siberia or something.
Yeah.
That is a short plant. It's a super short plant, and it matures very quickly. But they can take the genetics from that plant and mix it with other strains to have more cold-tolerant plants that are more tolerant to cold temperatures.
That's how they make the autoflowers, too.
You know, up in Alaska, right? That was one they grew up in Alaska. Like, what was it called?
Manitouska Thunderfuck.
Right. Or I was thinking like Northern Lights, maybe.
Oh, yeah, Northern Lights.
Northern Lights. So there was one thing I wanted to share, and I don't know how I can do it. But first of all, I'll just give the link to people who are listening who would be interested in this. And this is from a site called offguardian.org. And these are people who are commenters and writers at The Guardian in London, and then they got so pissed off by being censored and having like the liberal press censor their views that they started their own website called the Off Guardian, and that's where they post kind of like, alternative articles about a whole bunch of shit. And this publication has been posting a lot of material about COVID-19 and like about the, whatever. People want to look at an alternative perspective to it, they can go to this source. And the thing I noticed is, like you mentioned earlier, I kind of have been real ambivalent, like, about having any direct answer about this. Like, for the first year, I'm like, I don't know the answer, but I know it's wrong. Kind of like with 9/11, I don't know the answer, but I know it's wrong. Like, it's so obvious there's something wrong about this. So, and then all the evidence starts pouring out, like day after day, week after week, month after month, and we're like 18 months or 2 years into it, right? And then it's like, it becomes impossible unless you're like a researcher who's keeping track of all these fucking stories. And she said, I can go back to this and tell you that. I can say what happened in March. I can say what happened in August. But because there's so much data and there's so many different angles to COVID-19, it's impossible to accumulate all that information unless you're like a fucking computer. You know what I mean? Not a Homo sapien with social tendencies.
It's not just that it's this never-ending flow of it. It keeps contradicting itself. First, you're not supposed to wear a mask. Then you're supposed to wear a mask. It's
yeah.
It's not.
So at this,
go ahead.
It's all contradictory.
Yeah.
Everything about it is contradictory. So, but it's hard to remember all these facts because, like you pointed out, you're bombarded with all of this data, and then also, you're pretty much only getting 90% of the information that all of us are getting through mainstream media is tainted towards the corporate perspective, through Pfizer's perspective, the CDC's perspective, the World Health Organization's perspective, global governance, what their perspective is. We're not getting the perspective of dissident scientists.
I think it's more than 90. I think it's more than 90%. You said it's 90%.
That are buying the story.
Yeah, that are explaining to us what's happening.
So this article was called, and I'll just hit the bullet points. It's called 30 Facts You Need to Know, Your COVID Crib Sheet. So what the article is just an accumulation of all these things that people need to take into consideration when they're talking to a person who has been programmed by the mainstream media. And the first one is the survival rate of COVID-19 is over 99%. That's just a fact. And that means the vast majority of the population are not in danger from COVID. Number two, there's been no unusual excess mortality in 2020 compared to previous years. And it shows statistics, and there's graphs, and you can find that data there. Number three, COVID death counts are artificially inflated. Countries around the world have been defining a COVID death as a death by any cause within 28, 30, or 60 days of a positive test. And we all know if you got hit by a car 5 days after you got a COVID test, you didn't die from COVID, right? So the numbers have been inflated.
And I have a video. I have a video coming up about that.
Yeah. Number four, the vast majority of COVID deaths have serious comorbidities. So, for example, the Italian government last March published statistics showing 99.2% of COVID deaths had at least one serious comorbidity, including cancer, heart disease, dementia, Alzheimer's, kidney failure, or diabetes.
And gunshots.
50%, and gunshots. Over 50% of the people had 3 or more previous. They had cancer, diabetes, and heart disease, and they died.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, number 5. The average age of COVID death is greater than the average life expectancy. For example, in Britain, the normal person lives to be 82, 86 in Italy, 83 in Germany, 86 in Switzerland, and 78 in the United States. In almost all cases, the median age of a COVID death is higher than the national life expectancy. That is fucking bizarre. Number 6. COVID mortality exactly mirrors the national mortality curve. So according to studies from India and Britain, it shows that the curve for COVID death, like when they show these curves and death spikes, that they literally mirror other mortality, statistics from past years. So in other words, the death rate has not been going up at all. Number 7, there's been a massive increase in the use of unlawful do not resuscitate orders. So when people go to the hospital and they have COVID-19, they get different protocols than other people do, and they're told, don't fucking resuscitate these people the moment they enter the hospital, which is a death sentence, basically. Number 8.
What's the name of the article? People can tune in and see what...
Yeah, Mike, thank you. The name of the article is called 30 Facts You Need to Know Your COVID Crib Sheet, CRIBSHEET, and it's at the website offguardian.org. And I won't send a direct link, but in a few minutes when we get off the phone, I'll post a link in comments, so people can find out where they can go to get this information. And the reason I mention this is because, like, you gotta look for information to counter the official narrative. But most people don't even know they're being lied to because they haven't taken any time, for all the reasons we talked about, to look at the alternative information. Right. And this means, yes.
It's not just that. It's it's the fear programming has been pushed into them for so long. Be afraid. Terrorists since 2001. All this other shit. The economy's going to collapse. All this other shit. Domestic terrorists. All this fucking school shootings. It doesn't end. And so. They're in this fear state already, and then they go, there's a deadly plague, it's a zombie apocalypse, people. If the news was all of a sudden start to be like, there is a zombie apocalypse going on right now, everybody would fucking lose it, because they don't think about what's being told to them, and they're already afraid to start with.
It's also kind of like that movie, one of the movies you reference all the time, the John Carpenter movie, They Live, where only a few people have sunglasses on and can recognize what's actually happening. And that many people are going through the process because they think they're happy, because they think that's what they're supposed to do, and because they can't see what's actually happening, like They Live. And also, but V for Vendetta is the other movie you reference a lot. And I think this crisis, a medical crisis, although in V for Vendetta it was a real crisis.
It was a medical. It all starts around fucking bioweapon. That's what V for Vendetta is all about. I also have a video coming up about Camilla Harris saying that we can end the bio threat in the world. Yeah, it's pretty simple. Stop funding it, you stupid cow.
So the Spanish flu of 1919 or whatever, the one that they're referencing, like whatever. This is really dangerous. The mortality rate for that year compared to the year before went up, and that was during a fucking world war, or at the very end of a world war, so you'd imagine there'd be a lot of, like, all kinds of disease and death. But the mortality rate from the Spanish flu was 26% higher for the year following, that year. And it killed mostly people who were, like, in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, working class people who were, like, in the prime of their life. So that is, and it killed them, like, at a high rate, not like at like 0.5% for people who are infected. So to make comparisons, between like the medical, this is all hyperbole, and it's used for political purposes to manipulate people to accept corporate state rule. So when Pfizer tells us what to do, and the CDC and the WHO tell us what to do, our governments are going to tell us what to do. And you best obey, or you will become unemployed, and you will become homeless, and you will live in crisis for the rest of your life. So shut the fuck up and get the fucking virus. Vaccine, pardon. But anyway, those are some thoughts, and I don't think that's far off the mark, Mike.
Okay, Chris, I gotta take a break. It's good to hear from you.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, in turn. Have a good night.
Okay, talk to you soon. All right, so, and I have a number of the things that Chris was talking about there. I have, again, like I was saying, a video that talks about more evidence that the COVID-19 was created in a lab. And but at the beginning of the video, I clipped out this little clip of Camilla Harris saying that we can end the bio weapon threat in our lifetime, and all I can think is all you have to do is stop funding it, and it will end. You know, so that's not something that they're genuinely talking about making happen. It's just, again, another political slogan. We'll play that video in a minute. I also have a video about the numbers of COVID deaths being fudged, and Chris was just talking about that also. And I think that that's a really important video. It's an ABC News video, and I've seen it all over the ABC News the last weekend, few days. And I have a video, another video about something that Chris was talking about. Oh, vaccinate or lose your job. And that seems to be, that's a video coming up also. So I'm going to play the Kamala Harris Wuhan lab. No, you know what? I'm going to play the video about the government fudging the numbers, right? Chris was saying, you know, if somebody has these complicated, like heart disease or diabetes or all these things, they died from COVID, right? So, and car accidents. If you got a COVID test and in the last 28 days and you died from a car accident, you died from COVID. And the reason that this is important to me is, besides the fact that the government's lying again purposefully, the real question is why? Why are they lying about this? Why is it? I mean, you know, you don't want to lie too much because you start getting caught in lies and then people are like, well, that guy's a liar, right? So this is where I'm at with the government. The government's fucking liars, okay? The for-profit medical industrial complex are fucking liars. They've lied to me my entire life about cannabis, okay? They said cannabis has zero medicinal qualities. Anybody, I mean, these are the smart people, the educated people, the people who understand medicine, and they look you in the eyes and say, yeah, there's nothing there for cannabis. And you know they're full of shit. You know, anybody with an encyclopedia can figure out that that's bullshit. And, so they lied to us. The government lies to us. What I don't understand is, why are they overdoing it, you know? I mean, why is it that's so important to pump this up so big, right? Why is it, you know, I have stuff about cops and, you know, and firefighters and nurses not wanting to get vaccinated. You know, we're in the middle of this crisis where all the hospitals are overflowing with people, and we're going to fire a bunch of nurses because they don't want to get vaccinated, right? And why on earth would these frontline workers not want to get vaccinated? You know, so we got the lying, we got the frontline people, you know, first responders, police, firefighters, nurses, nursing home caregivers, you know, all of these people. I also have a video about a lawsuit with the first responders. And it's, like I said, I think this vaccine mandate thing is going to backfire on them really badly. But the lying thing, I don't understand, and it seems like they would know that they're going to get caught at it, and not only do they know they're going to get caught, it completely makes their credibility zero. Not that they have any, at least in my mind, the government to start with, but knowing this, why would they take the risk of losing all credibility so that they could fudge a little bit of numbers here and there, you know? I want to know why that's so important to them. I'm going to go ahead and play that clip so that you can check it out, and we'll talk about it when I get back. Thanks so much for tuning in. The telephone number is on the screen right there. I'll be back, and hopefully we'll be able to have an awesome discussion. Be right back.
As hindsight comes into clearer focus, we're learning a lot about mistaken advice and policies amid the COVID-19 pandemic. One still murky and disputed area involves the death toll, now upwards of 640,000 in the U.S., according to CDC. Some insist the true count is much higher. Others claim it's lower. Today, we begin with the startling results of our investigation that found in some documented cases, news that COVID was the cause of death was greatly exaggerated. Grand County, Colorado, rural country 100 miles outside of Denver. Thanksgiving 2020, Lucas Riley shoots his wife Kristen in the head, then turns the gun on himself, committing suicide. They have alcohol and drugs in their system and a history of domestic troubles.
Hi.
Grand County Coroner Brenda Bach explains how the small-town tragedy is exposing serious questions about the way COVID deaths are counted.
I had a homicide-suicide the end of November, and the very next day it showed up on the state website as COVID deaths. And they were gunshot wounds, and I questioned that immediately. Because I had not even signed off the death certificates yet. And the state was already reporting them as COVID deaths. Okay, we can come back in the office here.
Bach says somebody somewhere had apparently run the couple's names through a database showing they'd tested positive for COVID within 28 days of their death, then recorded them as COVID deaths, even though they died of gunshots. If we look at the death certificates for the murder-suicide case, what will it say about COVID?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I paid a forensic pathologist to do the autopsies on those two cases, and nowhere is COVID mentioned on those death certificates. Nowhere. This is a copy of the death certificate, and that's nowhere does it say COVID. So we have a homicide, suicide, nothing to do with COVID.
Because there had been no COVID deaths within the geographic boundaries of Grand County in 2020, Bach was in a unique position to challenge the state's accounting. In many cities and counties, the numbers are too big, and the coroners would never know about discrepancies. Within a week of the murder-suicide, 2 more Grand County deaths popped up on the state's COVID count. Bach investigated and found out why she had no record of them.
But 2 of them were actually still alive, and yet they were counting them. Had I not called them on it and asked them who those were, where were they from, all the information about it, and it's like, oh, well, that was a typo. They just got put in there by accident.
The coroner did officially talk to us at one of our regular Tuesday county commissioner meetings about this discrepancy and how the state was reporting our COVID numbers.
Merritt Linke is chair of the Grand County Board of Commissioners.
We drafted and signed a letter, all 3 commissioners, and the coroner also signed and sent it to the governor saying, hey, these numbers are not correct. It's not right. We should report these correctly, and please fix this.
It wasn't just happening in Grand County.
Heads out here, feet are here.
Dr. James Caruso is chief medical examiner and coroner for Denver.
We remove the organs, we weigh them. I was told by some of my fellow coroners in the more rural counties in Colorado that it was happening to them, that they knew of issues where they had signed out a death certificate with perhaps trauma involved, and they were being advised that it was being counted as a COVID-related death.
When it comes to counting coronavirus deaths, tell me what the story was of what you discovered early on, what was happening.
Well, I think early on, the people signing the death certificates probably were doing it accurately, but at some level, maybe the state level, maybe the federal level, there's a possibility that they were cross-referencing COVID tests and that people who tested positive for COVID were listed as a COVID-related death, regardless of their true cause of death. And I believe that's very erroneous and not the way the statistics needed to be accumulated.
Caruso says he voiced his objections in April 2020 with the Colorado Department of Public Health. How did you raise your concerns?
I told them very clearly that someone can die of COVID or they can die with COVID, and the two are very different.
Others were also questioning the state's count.
We had a coroner in Montezuma County. He had a death, an alcohol death, and it was counted as COVID, and he's the one that, I guess, got the ball rolling and started complaining.
As a result of the complaints, the state added subcategories showing numbers of death of COVID and deaths with COVID. But months later, with the murder-suicide, there were still questions. Of COVID presumably means the death is thought to have been caused directly by COVID.
Directly. Mm-hmm.
And with COVID means?
You had other underlying conditions.
Okay. So the murder-suicide should not have been counted under either of those categories.
Right, and that's what I complained about. And then when I did talk to the governor, he told me he didn't believe it was right, but he wasn't going to have them remove it from the count because all the other states were doing it that way, so we were going to also.
Colorado Governor Jared Polis declined our interview request. A spokesman said the governor agrees with Grand County Coroner Bach and was outraged that a murder-suicide is recorded as COVID-related. In an effort to be abundantly clear, the governor adds, the state website explains that some numbers combine deaths that were a direct result of COVID and deaths that occurred when the individual had COVID-19. During our visit to Colorado, the state's total COVID-related death tally was 13,845. Separating out the deaths not directly caused by COVID cuts that number by about half, with the rest dying among or with COVID, not because of it. The obvious implications are huge. If such a significant number of Colorado's COVID deaths weren't directly caused by COVID or even related at all in some cases, and if that bears out in other states, it means the national totals we've heard since the start of the pandemic could be largely misleading.
So I think in this country, we've taken a very liberal approach to mortality. And I think
the same time Colorado's coroners were challenging the death count, Dr. Deborah Birx of the White House Coronavirus Task Force was being asked about the same thing.
The intent is right now that if someone dies with COVID-19, we are counting that as a COVID-19 death.
Some of the eyebrow-raising examples of deaths attributed to COVID include fatalities after traffic accidents, 3 Colorado nursing home deaths, even though the attending physician said they weren't related to coronavirus, and a case in Nashville, Tennessee. In August 2020, Hal Short's wife was stunned to see COVID-19 named as the cause on her husband's death certificate after he died of an aggressive cancer. He tested negative for coronavirus 3 times. Only after the family complained was COVID-19 removed, a clerical error blamed.
That's really not good enough just saying I won't, just say we made a mistake and me forget about it. How many other people are you making this mistake with?
Government experts like Dr. Anthony Fauci claim without evidence there are likely far more COVID deaths than documented, not fewer.
That the number is likely higher. I don't know exactly what percent's higher, but almost certainly it's higher.
Adding to the confusion, widely cited sources from the New York Times to the Johns Hopkins coronavirus dashboard compile and report different numbers. Johns Hopkins notes that states are not consistent and may even retroactively change the numbers they report. Short of a national audit, some of the best hard evidence can only be found in small places like Grand County, Colorado, where they know precisely who did or didn't die of what within the county limits, and where Bach says there were no COVID deaths in 2020.
Not as far as I'm concerned.
But when we checked in July, the New York Times tally over-reported Grand County's 2020 COVID death toll by at least 500%. It was missing one resident who reportedly died of COVID outside of the county, but the Times counted an unrelated heart attack, the 2 people who were still alive, which were removed from the state total, and the murder-suicide of Lucas and Kristen Riley. What are the implications nationwide when we're looking at numbers, Ben?
I believe they're very inflated. And don't get me wrong, I believe COVID is real. And I believe people do get very sick from it. And I do believe a small number do die from that. I do not believe a homicide-suicide belongs in that number. I don't, because my job is to tell the truth about why a person died, the cause and the manner. And I don't believe that what's going on is the truth.
Alameda County, California changed their methodology.
Hello, caller.
Hello, Mike.
Hang on just a sec.
Jarhead.
Okay, hang on just a sec. So I don't know if you caught it at the end of that clip, but the coroner said that I believe COVID is real, and the only reason that I point this out is that generally speaking, when something is real, people don't have to make a statement about it being real. It's like, I believe Santa Claus is real, and you're entitled to your own belief. I completely believe that. The thing is, like I'm saying, generally, when it comes to something which is actually, real, you don't have to make a statement about how you believe that it's real, because we all know that it's real. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, that's an interesting thought. I didn't even quite catch that. My name's Jarhead. We have a mutual friend, two Bronze Star Brandon.
Right on. He seems like a great guy.
He is. We're good friends, and he turned me on to your show. And so I wanted to call in because this is an important topic to me. I really liked a lot of what that last caller, Chris, had to say. Especially in relation to, 9/11 and him saying that he didn't quite, he didn't know what to make of 9/11 in the sense of he couldn't tell you what was going on there, but he knew something wasn't right.
Right. Well, that's what I always say to people is that I can't tell you exactly what happened on that day, but the one thing I'm absolutely positive about is that the government is lying to us about what happened on that day. Go ahead.
And I feel the same way.
Yeah.
I feel the exact same way, and I feel the same way with respect to this whole pandemic as well. I think it feels the same to me.
There's something not right about it. I will agree with that 100%.
It's a lot of the that I find is the illogic to it all. I mean, let's even go with the video you showed about the kids and the masking, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we all know those cloth masks don't do a damn.
Right, they're not protecting anybody.
It's just crazy to me because it's the equivalent of a mosquito getting through a chain link fence.
Yeah.
I mean, people talk about N95 masks, and honestly, with this virus, and N95 is the entry point for even starting to do anything, and it has to be a well-fitted and form-fitted 95 at that. Yet
Right.
That's not a requirement anywhere. It's just put something on your face.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It's for show. I mean.
Right.
That's a problem there. It's kind of like the TSA, security theater. It's not actual security. And the mask isn't actual protection. I mean, unless you're wearing a full face respirator with P100 filters, you're not doing a damn thing.
The mask, I've said again and again, they're not designed to protect you. This is something that people wear in surgery in order not to, put spittle into open wounds and stuff,
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And when it comes to this thing about things not being screwy, they don't seem like the government's lying or whatever. It's all this basic stuff like why are kids being sent back to school if we're in the middle of this deadly plague when that can only be a super spreader event, and all that we're hearing is that now kids have the highest rate of infection and kids are being hospitalized. Well, then why are you doing this to them? It doesn't make sense,
Well, another one that doesn't make sense that you mentioned already this evening was why are we firing all these frontline healthcare workers in the middle of a pandemic, and we need them? These are people that have been doing this work for 18 months and are the most elite and experienced at dealing with COVID, and you're going to get rid of them because they don't want to take the experimental shot.
Right, and that's the other thing, is that these people that are on the front, this is another thing that doesn't add up, right? The nurses who we keep hearing from on CNN and Fox News, we never hear the ones that say, hey, I don't want to get the vaccine, but we hear the ones that are desperate, which I don't want to make fun of them. It's horrible, whatever it is. I can't imagine being a nurse. That being said, they're talking about how they're overfilled and there's not enough people, there's not enough help, they're working 24-hour shifts, and And the thing is that they're seeing all these people die, supposedly, from this horrible disease or germ or whatever it is, biowarfare. They're seeing, so why on earth, when they're being exposed to it on a daily basis, would they not want a vaccine 18 months later when they've seen all this horrible, all this horrific shit go on? How on earth can they be saying, hey, and knowing that they're going to be exposed to it, how can they be saying, yeah, we don't want that, keep it away from us, right?
I can answer some of that for you. I think the most benign answer, right? Because you mentioned biowarfare and all that other stuff. But I think the simplest explanation is this. I think most of them have been exposed and probably have already had it, and they realize that their natural immunity is superior. And they don't want to take the risk. I myself work in the healthcare industry. I do not work on the front lines. All right, but I am facing the vaccine mandate myself in the next month, and if I don't get it, I'm gone. Yeah. And I myself am recovered from COVID, and so therefore, why are they not recognizing natural immunity? We have 100 million Americans that supposedly at this point have already gotten over COVID.
Yeah.
Right. But natural immunity is not a thing. It's preposterous. Other nations are recognizing natural immunity, but we're not going to.
It's, again, there's something incredibly not right here. The way that the way this vaccine is being pushed, it doesn't add up. The thought of risking, thousands, if not, tens of thousands of healthcare workers because, they don't want to, be told what shots to get, that doesn't add up. The police, who have to deal with these homeless people and all these people that are just filthy and everything, they don't want to get the shot. How can, and they're going to fire them. It doesn't make sense that this is so incredibly important. It's more important than a police officer on the job protecting people is whether or not that police officer got a shot. Firefighter, a nurse, the same thing. Yep. How can that possibly be? There's something not right there. Go ahead.
Doctors too, sir. Doctors too. My personal doctor.
Yeah.
He's also recovered from COVID. He told me the same thing. I don't want it. My hospital system isn't mandating it yet, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do when they do.
Yeah.
He said that. And I'll tell you what, I see him once a year. He's a specialist. Mike, in the last year when I saw him more recently from the time before all this, he looked like he aged 5 years in the 1 year because of all this craziness that's going on in the medical industry.
Yeah.
And he looked great as far as like a man that was like, I can't believe what's going on here, and this is going against everything I've ever been taught.
Yeah.
And I also have a personal friend who's a physician, a surgeon, and she is in the same boat. I've heard things come out of her mouth recently with respect to the system and the CDC and the FDA, right, that I would never have expected to hear out of her mouth because she's always been, towing the line in life. She's a successful person, right?
Right.
So there's these kind of people that are high intellect, high achievers. We know that one of that most vaccine hesitant group is PhDs, that are questioning this. But they make you look like a fool or sound like a fool because, you ask them questions. It's ridiculous.
It's beyond ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. It's as if you're just being told to shut up and do what you're told, and that's beyond ridiculous. That's some kind of fucking medical tyranny. I keep hearing those words used. I remember I went to go see my neurologist, and he's like, I want you to get the COVID shot, and I said no. And he hasn't asked me since. So,
another thing that Chris was saying, he's like, you got to be a supercomputer brain in order to keep up with the changes of all the information in the last 18 months. And he's absolutely right because, it's mask, no masks, then it's mask, then it's no mask, then, and it's one foot to the other. And the thing of it is like what made me think of what I thought of when he said that. I'm like, how many times did they kill al-Baghdadi? Remember
Right.
that?
Yeah.
Leader Vice President? How many times over the last, from like 2014 till the most recent time they killed him, like every year they were trotting it out in a news story. He's getting bombed over there in Iraq. They killed al-Baghdadi. And it's like nobody's paying attention that they've killed him 5 times already. Right?
Yeah, well, I think some people were paying slight attention up until like the 4th time or something. And then it's like, whoa.
And then it just gets lost in the sauce. So
Yeah.
like, if people can't even connect the dots from year to year that they're saying that they killed him every single year, right? They're not going to keep up with the edicts that are handed down for this pandemic, and that's what's sad. The average person just is not paying attention. It's like you said, they're working. That they have just enough energy to come home and maybe cook a meal if they're lucky and go to bed and get up and do it all over again.
Yeah.
And so
they're desperate. They're desperate for just like 10 minutes to relax, half an hour to relax, because the world is crazy out there. And then I think on top of that, they have a really hard time getting that half an hour, even if they're like in their easy chair and they got their favorite TV show on, is still they're all this wound up inside. So it's the people are really getting just fucked over by the government, and I think the only reason that this can possibly be, and the other thing is, when the government lies, when I'm lied to by someone, I mean, it's only like once or twice or 3 times, and I'm like, okay, this person's a liar. That's all there is to it. And so, the government has zero credibility. So,
right.
Yeah,
and the corporations have zero credibility.
Right.
They're the ones picking out all this. So it's that corporate fascist state that we're dealing with here. I mean, in the particular corporation that I work for, they're a very large corporation, and this news comes out day to day that hey, they're talking about the natural immunity is possibly better than a vaccine alone. They're not going to reverse their stance. They're going to fire me next month. So, they're full steam ahead. They are doubling down and they are invested in it for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of what comes out to contradict what they're saying, everybody's got to have a vaccine no matter what.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Especially after 18 months of being exposed to this, like the nurses and the police officers being exposed, the firefighters being exposed. Now, if you don't get it, you're out. This doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's like I said. I mean, this one stinks. Maybe it doesn't stink worse than 9/11 as far as something's not right here, but it's been so much longer. This is drawn out for 18. This is like 18 straight months of 9/11 lies, and they just keep piling on top of each other. It's huge, but I mean. Who knows? They could be working us up to a world war here, and this is the prelude. You know what I mean? So this has to continue this way.
Yeah, I have my spidey senses tingling about shit coming up pretty quick. So I don't know. I agree. This seems to be like some kind of major distraction, kind of, pay attention to this. And I think it's just the fear thing. They want us as afraid as possible. They got us so afraid now and separated. They want us afraid of each other. The domestic terrorist, they got us so afraid now that the people are afraid if you breathe on them at the grocery store, they might die. So they're afraid of each other. And I think that this is a big part of what they're trying to achieve is to heighten that fear because 2 reasons is that if we're afraid of each other, we can't come together to do something about the fucked up government. But also, as I've said again and again, when you're afraid, it means you don't know what to do. You don't know what's next. You're worried and you're looking for an answer and you turn to people that appear to be strong leaders. This happens a lot. I talked about this a lot after 9/11 and the terrorists. They look for people that are strong leaders, people who take bold action, So they got us in this heightened state of fear already. And then boom, something happens and it's like, although I can't imagine Joe Biden being the kind of people that you look to for leadership, especially not at this point. Yeah.
No, I think you're right on both those counts. Another thing to consider is too, as you know, you mentioned their credibility tanking. As their credibility tanks, it is in their best interest to divide us further, because then we won't come after them, and that's, you know, I think that's a big part of it as well.
Yeah, well, we can't come after them if we don't get together first. Because if we come after them and we're just these little broke down groups, then you become the domestic terrorist, the January 6th insurrectionist.
Oh God, don't even get me started on that. That was, you know, that whole frat party. That's basically what it amounted to, and they're acting like it's the craziest thing since the Civil War. I mean, they're so delusional. You know, do they even believe their bullshit? Is my question.
I
mean,
it's a really good question.
I think some do. I think the ones at the top don't. It's a weapon, but you know, the bullshit is a weapon. But I think there are some true believers in this cult, and you know,
Like who? I mean, you're not talking about Sean Hannity. You're not talking about Chris Cuomo. Like, who do you think are true believers?
Not Chris. I don't know. It's hard to name who.
Tucker.
I mean, because it's all theater, right? What do they say?
Yeah, it's all theater. Absolutely.
And it's hard to know what you know. I mean, I'm a person. I haven't voted since 2004. I'm an Iraq veteran, and you know, I came back. I voted in 2004. I voted for the Libertarian Party candidate, and after that, I haven't voted since. And now I tell people, I'm like, look, this man that we have in office, he's 78 years old, okay? I wouldn't want to do that job at the age that I am now, and I'm considerably younger, okay? The people that want your vote are always maladjusted.
Yeah.
They're always sociopathic. They're always psychopathic, because normal people like you and me, Mike, we don't want to do that. We don't want to rule other people. We don't want to smile and glad hand and do all these other things. We want to. You want to smoke your bong, and I want to. You know, and I want to go shoot my guns or whatever it is that I do, and live a normal life and be left in peace. These people are all maladjusted. So, what I tell people now, because I don't vote anymore, if they're asking for your vote, they're the wrong person. Always, always.
Yeah, it sure appears that way. And even if they're not, we know when they get elected, the minute they get into that group of people, it's just impossible not to become instantaneously 100% corrupt. So
they're swimming in the sewer too. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So I don't know what the answer is, but it's not voting, and it's certainly not paying taxes, because you know, we see what they're doing. So,
yeah. Well, the solution is all of us recognizing the common enemy. There's really only one threat to our personal freedom, and it's not Iran, and it's not China, and it's not Russia. It's our government. And every day they chip away at that freedom, it should be completely obvious who the real threat to your freedom is. And they swear, and by the way, Joe Biden and all these other fucktards, they take an oath. They swear a solemn vow, and they stand up there at the podium and they say, oh, I took a vow to protect the people. That's not true. Okay, he took a vow to protect the people's freedom. Okay, and this is the problem: is they act like that's a secondary thing if it's on the radar at all. We're just trying to keep you safe. I don't need you to fucking keep me safe. I need you to stop chipping away at my fucking freedom, because they're the only threat on the planet to your personal freedom, and that's the fact, Jack.
That's it. And as long, I mean, look, there's endless amount of threats in life to the individual person. So as long as you can use that as an excuse to chip away at freedom, you'll always have a reason, and that's exactly what they do.
Yeah, I saw like they're passing a law now, or a bill or something about it's this thing that affected 200. They're calling it the Havana syndrome or something, and it's this. supposed wave weapon. This concentrates some kind of wave at your head, and then you have disorientation, and you have headaches, and you get ringing in your ear, right? And this is affecting 200 people, and they're taking the time in fucking Congress to pass this fucking legislation about the Havana syndrome, you know, because it's supposed to be like a government weapon or something. But, you know, it's all about helping the victims of it. You know, if you want to help victims, there's a lot of people, a lot more people than 200 that need your fucking attention, you know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more. This is... I can't help but laugh. But, like, I mean, I'm thinking, you know, again, with what you're saying about the government, you know, and chipping away on our freedom. Look, hey, Saddam Hussein didn't take my freedom.
Yeah.
He's not. I mean, he swung at the end of a rope, and here we are. You know, but we're, you know, and I, you know, I remember thinking to myself even back then, look, this Patriot Act and all these other things. I told people back then, you know, I'm like, this isn't for brown men in caves with beards.
Yeah.
Okay. This is going to be for you.
Right.
It certainly has turned out to be.
It says right in there that all of you are fucking potential terrorists. It says right, that's why they can spy on your phones and all your computer and everything else, is because you're a potential terrorist.
I mean, now a person who stores up, you know, food and is a prepper is a terrorist. I mean, that's the whole, you know, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, right? They're all terrorists now.
Everybody's terrorist. That's what I just said. That's what the law says. You're all potential terrorists. And in the time of a war on terror, there is no potential about it. Either you're a terrorist or you're not a terrorist. If they're calling you a potential terrorist, it's the same as calling you a terrorist, so you know.
Well, that's good. Then they can make that word as meaningless as racist now.
It is.
So you know, I'm a terrorist. I'm a racist. I'm all the above. Whatever you want to call them. I am what you say I am, Eminem. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know. All right, well, Mike, I'll let you get going and talk to some other people, but it was good talking to you. You know, and you know, like I said, I'll definitely catch some shows in the future and definitely try to call in then too.
Right on, Jarhead. I really enjoyed talking with you, and I look forward to talking again soon.
All right, thanks, Mike. Good night.
Okay, stay cool, bro.
Bye.
Okay, so let's see, let's see. It's always awesome to get new callers, and I look forward to talking to him again soon. It's true, and this is the thing: is I think the government. It's like I was saying to Jarhead, and that's that if somebody lies to me. You know, like, okay, you know, lied, whatever. It's kind of generally fairly obvious when people are lying to you. So someone lies to me, I'm like, whatever. But when they lie to you again, you know, and a lot of times they do it out of totally inconsequential things. It's like, it doesn't matter either way, but they're lying about it, you know? And then they lie to you again. So they lie, and then they lie about stuff that doesn't matter, and then they lie again. They're fucking liars, right? This is our government. And how you can trust anything that they say at this point in time in our world, you know, they lied. I don't know what happened on September 11th, 2001. I do not know what happened. I have, you know, a general idea of what happened. Planes flew into buildings. Buildings fell down. You know, never-ending war started. Project for a New American Century. As I'm saying, I don't know exactly what happened. I don't know for sure what happened. What I do know inside of me, and I believe with all my spirit, is that I may not know what happened on that day, but I'm absolutely certain that the government's lying about it. And then, so they lied about that, this big giant thing. And then there was the anthrax attacks. You guys remember the anthrax attacks? They came like 10 days, 2 weeks after 9/11, right? And this military-grade anthrax was sent to certain members of Congress and certain members of the media. That seems pretty pinpointed. We want to make sure these people know to shut the fuck up. What's up, caller?
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, Brandon. Good to hear from you.
Hey, I'm glad you got to meet Jarhead.
He sounds like an awesome human being.
Dude, I put him on you probably, I don't know, a long time ago. So I can't say if it was a year. I don't know, But yeah, man, that's my dude, man. He's one of my dudes. He's crazy.
Yeah.
He thinks the Second Amendment is he should be able to own an Apache helicopter. I'm like, hey, calm down, bro. But he don't give a fuck.
You know what? I really don't give a fuck. Yeah, I'm not afraid of people who want to own weapons legally.
Mom. By the way, I took Tanisha I took Ty to the gun range.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she liked it, and she shot her pistol. I bought her 6 years ago. We never shot it. And then
what kind?
I know, right?
What kind of pistol?
It was just. I bought like a 22 Ruger 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And so she shot it. I knew she might be scared of guns. Make a long story short, next day we went back, bought her ass a 9mm.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you got to start off small. You don't want to scare them, but
a
9mm is pretty much the perfect weapon for carrying, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, it's got a little stop to you. But, I was trying, but it was stupid, though. I was trying to explain to my wife, I was like, hey, baby, because we hadn't shot it yet. Like, we bought that, like, on a Saturday. They was having a sale, like, 6% off of all firearms.
Huh.
And you got free ammo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, but because everybody was buying, the range line was long. So we lost it. Well, we'll just go to the range, another day. So we'll go, like, next week or whatever, right? And, like my wife, I was trying to explain to my wife, I'm like, well, listen, baby, when we go shoot this ammunition, with this gun, I want to purchase different ammunition so you can see the fire, how it shoots, right?
Yeah.
She didn't understand. I tried to explain to this woman about goddamn hollow point. She was a deer in the headlight. Literally.
It's
in my living room, you heard a cricket chirping. It's that fucking long.
It's really, unless you're that oriented, if you're new to guns, it's going to be, hollow points is going to be something that's down the road to understand, I think. Although you would think, it expands, it breaks apart pretty easy. It bounces off of bones. It pretty much tears up the entire inside of whatever it hits.
The organs are fucked.
Yeah.
But, and I was just telling her about, hey, and she was like, listen, man, Tanisha is great, but there's a level of common sense. That girl, she should have rode on the short bus at least a quarter of a mile to school. You feel me?
Huh.
You know what I'm saying, Mox?
I wouldn't talk about your girl that way.
I know, like, who's trashing your wife on the internet?
I'm not going to talk about your girl that way, dude.
Hey, Mox, you know that, right? But nah, man, but listen, like that whole vaccine mandate stuff is really affecting a lot of people.
Brandon, let me say something real quick about hollow points. Besides, the thing about hollow points, okay, is besides them expanding and breaking, fragmenting, and then just having this stopping force that's like 2 or 3 times what a normal bullet would be. Besides them doing that, they won't travel like normal bullets. Normal bullets, you hit somebody and then it just keeps on going. So if you're in a residential neighborhood or whatever, that's not a good thing. So hollow points are really a good way to go if you're in kind of an urban setting. So if anybody's wondering about hollow points.
No, because I think when we go back next week, there's 2 guns that we've seen. One was a fucking pump action that was on sale. It's still on sale. And 38 special. Yeah. Revolver. But anyway.
Why do you want a 38? Why do you want a 38?
Well, the reason why I want the 38 revolver is because it's the size of my hand.
Uh-huh.
And there's no lever action.
Well, why not get a 357 revolver?
Well, it's real simple. 357. I have a bad shoulder lock. I don't want to talk about that. Okay? You know, I mean.
Yeah. No, I did. I see it. My dad used to tell me, which he carried 2 guns everywhere. And he used to tell me that if you shoot a big guy with a 38, you're just gonna piss him off. So.
Well, I'm buying that for my wife, to be honest.
Right, and you don't want her to piss off the guy that she has to shoot, okay?
Well, no, because listen, this is how my personal take on it. I get it. It's a revolver. It only carries 5 rounds.
No, a revolver is a good weapon, because if you got to get something wet or sandy or whatever, revolver is probably the way you want to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
But besides that, what we're talking about is, you know, I live right here in St. Louis, and you got some idiots out here, and the way that I look at it is it's small, it can fit in a pocket. It's stub nose.
Yeah.
But if something goes wrong, you start popping off. They fucking run. You know what I'm saying? So now if she's carrying a fucking gun, like with a magazine and all that, it's more complicated.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the only reason. But the pump action, they got a pump action, dude, for like less than $300. You know what I'm saying?
A pump action what?
Shotgun.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, that's really.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to go for home stuff, for sure.
Yeah. Well, plus we got 2 dogs.
Yeah.
You know, but speaking of my friend, like, he's literally gonna have to lose his job. You know.
Yeah.
And I talked to him. I'm like, well, what are you what are you gonna do? You know, but I know he's listening, and I need your help, Mike, because I've talked to you for a long time. And when I first called into your show, I told you how I got my house.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know, Greg looked it up and stuff like that and showed you. But listen, man, if you ever been in the military, you need to go to the VA and get what's deserved to you. And my buddy, Jarhead don't want to do it. And I think you as a taxpayer should tell him, especially since he's got a combat tour in Iraq, that's owed to him. He earned that. And it's not a fucking handout. Because he's a fucking hardhead. So can you please tell him that, man?
Yeah, is that the reason? Is a handout? Is that what he's worried about? I mean, it's obvious that you earned it. It should be obvious, but I mean, it's not that he doesn't want to be involved with the government anymore and stuff like that.
No, it's not that. No, it's not that. It's just that a lot of men. Now, this is a man issue because I deal with this all the time when I bump into veterans. It's like, dude, men don't like to ask for help. Let's be honest. Fathers would tell us, boy, go on, stand up, dust your knee off, and get back on that bike, right? Something simple like that. And when we figure it out by ourselves, but there's certain points of life where let's be honest, government is important. Social Security is important. Medicaid, Medicare is important. And whenever you get out the military, the Veterans Administration is important. But like a lot of men just look at well, it's a handout, and it's not a handout. I try to tell them that, and they don't fucking listen. So could you please just say, hey, Jarhead, it's not a fucking handout.
Yeah.
To One-Star Brandon.
Yeah, no, I will ask him about that. There's other reasons too, Brandon. I mean, he might just not want, like myself. I don't like modern medicine. Okay, I'm just gonna put it this way. Again, they've lied to me my whole life. About a substance that's good for you, and they said it's the most evil thing in the world, and it has no medicinal qualities, which they knew they were lying about. And in my opinion, that means that they lie about a whole bunch of other stuff. And, you know, you go there and the next thing they go, oh, you have this issue, you know, and then it's like, and we want you to do this about it. And if you don't, you know, then you don't want to go back to them and say, well, why aren't you doing what we told you should do? We still think you should be doing this. And then you're like, you know, I mean, you know what I'm saying? That I think that could be just as much as a handout thing, because
Mog, it's not about medicine.
Yeah.
It's about whenever you're a veteran, whenever you get out the military, they take your medical records and they financially compensate you for all your hard work and labor. Because a lot of guys get injured, bad backs. You know, you're humping 98-pound rounds for a fucking fire mission of 35 minutes, which may be 100 and something rounds. You know, like your body's beat up. And that's the reason why the VA is so important. It's just not about going there and, you know, like so many people who don't know about the VA, they just think it's a hospital. No. There's 3 departments of the Veterans Administration. One is the hospital, one is the education side, and one is the memorial service where they bury people. Okay, like Arlington National, all the cemeteries throughout all, you know, where you see the white headstones and the grass is cut and all. Okay, VA does a lot, but the problem is, Mark, is that I want my brothers and sisters who serve to get financially compensated. That's it. That's all. Because they deserve it.
I think that the veterans don't get enough in return, because you know, a lot of them hurt real bad, and it just seems like it's not recognized, and they hurt because they tried to do the right thing by the country, so it seems like the country should try and do the right thing by them too, you know.
Oh, well, you know what? Again, I was blessed. It worked out well for me, and I just try to spread the message, you know. But on a good note, Mark, I'm about to get off the mic. Listen, in the morning, we're gonna walk. I'm gonna take the kids to school. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna eat the White House. And on that note, God bless you, brother.
Lucky.
I know, Tanisha. I do. Remember, I told you about the garage last time.
Yeah. Nice.
She's like, wait, well, what do you want me to wear? I'm like, I'm 45. What do you got to wear that? Girl.
Right on. You're a lucky guy.
Hey, listen, dude, I love coming on your show, and I just told everybody that I ate my weight out. Big deal. Anyway, hey, brother, take care, man. Moms, love you, all right?
Okay, talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye. And I'm going to play a video here about firefighters, local firefighters that are protesting because they're about to lose their jobs because they're being mandated to get vaccinated and they don't want to. So, and they're willing to lose their jobs over it. Again, first responders, which doesn't make sense in my head, first responders saying, yeah, we don't want that. We don't want this so-called protection. And why are you taking my job? I was a hero last year. Why are you taking my job away this year? You know, I'll be right back.
A group of unvaccinated Redmond firefighters and their families are criticizing the city's handling of a mandate requiring certain first responders to get the shot. They claim the city agreed to accommodations under a religious exemption, but later changed its mind. King 5's Ted Land is joining us live tonight from Redmond City Hall, where those families gathered earlier. Ted.
Well, they're actually still at the meeting, which is going on right now. For more than an hour, people have been expressing concerns about a state mandate requiring firefighters who are also paramedics to be vaccinated. First responders, their families and supporters are denouncing the city of Redmond for its handling of a COVID vaccine mandate for certain city employees, including firefighters.
You will be losing great firefighters, men and women who show up every week ready and willing to work.
They say roughly 20 to 30 firefighters declined to get vaccinated. Several of them say the city approved religious exemptions and a set of accommodations like daily COVID testing, which would have allowed them to keep working. But they claim the city abruptly changed its mind and will no longer allow those accommodations.
We are strong in our convictions and our religious beliefs. It's not
just cop out or something. Like, this is truly what we believe.
Amanda Parnell's husband, Tyler, has worked as a Redmond firefighter for more than 6 years. She and others spoke on their spouse's behalf because they say the firefighters are not allowed to talk with journalists.
We get to choose what we do with our body, and if we don't feel that that's something that's good for our body and we should have the choice not to do it.
The state of Washington says the vaccine is the single most effective resource it has to combat the spread of COVID, as well as prevent illness and death. These families say the city needs to honor the exemption and accommodations.
How can you go back on your word? If you can't honor your word, what can you honor? What kind of a person are you? I just don't get it.
Tracy Robillard's husband, Brian, is 3 years short of retirement and could lose his job after October 18th, the vaccine deadline. They say even the threat of losing their income won't compel them to get the shot.
We can't. It's our strongly held religious beliefs. And, you know, our faith is in God, not in man. So we're going to hold our ground. We have to.
It's not yet clear what the impact of 20 to 30 firefighters leaving the department would be, but the families say they're concerned about longer response times. I had a lot of questions for the city of Redmond, but they say they're not commenting on this, not answering any questions from reporters because they say it's a personnel issue. Live in Redmond, Ted Land, King 5 News.
And as you said, Ted, those families still there tonight, so you'll keep us posted. Thank you. A reminder that all state employees, higher education, child care, K through 12 education employees, as well as most health and long-term care providers need to be fully vaccinated by October 18th, according to the governor's mandate, and they cannot test out. Federal employees, federal contractors, and healthcare workers at facilities that receive federal funding must show proof of vaccination by November 22nd, also with no test out option. And any company with more than 100 employees must mandate vaccines for their employees or weekly COVID tests for workers who cite religious or health reasons for not getting vaccinated. Right now, there is no deadline for when that last mandate will go into effect.
Some first responders on the east side worry their jobs are on the line if their religious exemptions for the COVID vaccine are not taken seriously by city leaders.
As many as 20 firefighters in the Redmond Fire Department worry that the city won't accommodate their request, and they fear their jobs are on the line as well. Q13 News reporter AJ Janabel joins us live from the Redmond City Council meeting tonight. And AJ, we know that some people are sharing their concerns over the vaccine issue. What are they saying?
20 firefighters, but when you think about the actual family, it's a lot more. Behind me, as that council meeting is still going on, many of those family members are speaking those concerns and what they hope to see this council change.
He has cared for those in need during their most vulnerable and intense moments.
There's a lot riding on what happens with the Redmond Fire Department for Amanda Parnell. Parnell and her husband, who has been a firefighter with the department for about 7 years, just had their first baby.
It's really hard. And it's hard to watch him every day be so stressed and so defeated because he loves what he does. He loves being a firefighter. He loves serving the city of Redmond. And he's so passionate about it.
She tells me if there's no vaccine exemption for her family, they'll have to leave their home. Several other people spoke during the Redmond City Council public input, and a small group of people even chanted outside the council chambers. Parnell says her hope is council will reconsider and allow firefighters like her husband to continue working like they have been for the last year and a half.
I'm here to support my husband and to support all of the other families in there that are affected by this and to support everyone's right to choose.
While City Council is meeting right now, there is nothing specific on their agenda that focuses on the vaccine. That being said, many families, many people still came out and spoke their concerns to those city leaders. Earlier in the day, I reached out to each member of the City Council to comment on this controversial situation. However, I did not hear back. Reporting live here in Redmond, I'm AJ Janabel for Q13 News.
All right, AJ, keep us posted.
Hello?
Hey, Max, how's it going?
Okay, how are you?
I'm here sitting on my bed watching Mock Views.
Lucky.
Well, I mean, you're later on the living room smoking pot and putting videos about the vaccine. I think a vaccine should be a choice, Max. What do you think?
I think everything should be a choice.
We're fighting the same page, Max. I'm glad that we're on the same page on this one.
I see on the screen up here, it says, on my television screen, it says that Joe Biden is saying that U.S. soldiers who refuse to get the COVID-19 vaccine should be dishonorably discharged. Okay? I think, I just want to say real quick, I'll find a video for that tomorrow, but that's some bullshit right there. Okay, Manny, what's up?
I totally agree, Box. It should be a total choice. However, I'm on the side of science, and I do believe that vaccine works.
What would Jesus say, Manny?
That's an interesting point, Max, because Jesus lived 2,000 years ago. There was no concept of a vaccine back then. So you're asking me a question that is probably almost impossible to answer, though.
Well, you said I believe in science. So a lot of these people who are asking for religious exemptions seem to feel that they believe in God over science, and that they trust in God over science. So
that's true, and that's a good point, though, because I mean, I've been hearing that they say a certain passage of the Bible as a way to say, you see, the Bible says so. I cannot take the vaccine. It's okay. It's their choice. Again, it's their own personal choice. I'm not going to say no to them.
And it's not just, Manny, it's not just a matter of the Bible says so. I don't know what the fuck the Bible says. Certain things I know. But what I'm saying is, I believe in God. Okay? And I don't need your fucking, voodoo medicine, so-called medicine, to try and protect me, because God is on my side. Okay? So that doesn't really have all that much to do with the Bible, Manny. So it's just a basic belief that I trust in God more than I trust in you. It's like, I talk about all the time about, obviously God wants you to be free. God doesn't want you to live under these fucking set of rules, because otherwise God would have made it, mandatory that you live under these rules, and by that I mean you wouldn't have had an option. This is who you are. Yeah. You don't do it differently. So God wants you to be free. God wants you to fuck up. God wants you to do whatever it is that you want to make happen. And that's the thing, is, again, these people that are acting like they're in charge of you are taking that away. Your freedom of choice that was given to you by God. Not the founding fathers, who said, we recognize these truths to be self-evident. Not, we give you these rights. We recognize that these are inalienable, God-given rights. So, freedom of choice, freedom of speech, freedom of religion.
It sounds to me like you're religious, Max. Huh? When did you become religious?
No, I'm not religious. I despise religion. I think religion is for weak-minded people.
Well, I don't know, Max. I mean, there's certain... I don't know.
No offense to everybody. I mean, but you hear Manny. He doesn't believe that people should be free. That you have to do this way that it says in the Bible.
No.
Fuck the Bible.
What I mean is, religion gives purpose to certain people, and if religion was not existent, though, I think we probably will live in chaos, in degeneracy, in chaos. But that's a different story for a different name. My point is, I believe in choice, and I'm on the side of science, though, but I am not going to put a gun on people's head to take the shot. They should be aware of the consequences of not getting the shot, though. But again, I'm not going to obligate them to get the shot. And that's their choice. Just keep in mind that there are some serious consequences of not getting it, though. And I'm not talking about social consequences. I'm talking about health consequences, though. Because what we've seen so far with a lot of authorities and a lot of influencers and stars is that they're shaming people for not taking the vaccine or having some sort of social or economic consequences. That, my friend, is wrong. 100% wrong.
Yeah, I agree. Again, penalizing people for deciding what their health care should be. Not just that. I see this. You must be vaccinated to come into the restaurant. I see this as the new whites only. It's like only these kind of people are allowed, and your kind is not welcome.
I was reading that black people don't trust the vaccine because of previous experiments on them. Apparently, there was some experiments with them made back in the day.
Yeah.
The Tuskegee experiment and the experiments on black people giving them some STDs to study what happened to them.
I don't know how anybody can trust the government, Manny. The government is just completely full of shit, and whatever it is they say, you should almost automatically think the opposite because they're not on your side at this point.
That actually kind of makes me think, have you seen the latest video of Project Veritas?
The what?
Have you seen the latest video of Project Veritas?
The latest video what?
Of Project Veritas.
No.
They're doing a undercover interview with a FDA economist. But the guy was incredibly condescending and saying we should blow darts to black people or put it on a non-vaccinated registry for not vaccinated, kind of like Nazi Germany type of thing.
Yeah.
He explicitly said that, and this guy worked in the FDA.
Yeah.
Although he's not a scientist within the FDA, he's more like the bureaucracy within the FDA.
Yeah.
He was still saying those kind of things, and I kind of showed you a microcosms of what some people might think is how the FDA did. That's kind of scary, actually.
I agree. This again is, I believe that what I've said is that the powers that be, the people in charge, they view you as cattle. And you're saying blow darts at them. This is the kind of thing that you would do with a cattle that wouldn't submit to its vaccine. So this is absolutely the way they view us, and it's not just black people. It's all of us. And anybody who doesn't take the vaccine, they feel exactly the same way about. So,
I don't know, Max.
You say, Manny, you say I don't know a lot. Is that just when you're talking to me, or is it when you talk to people all the time? Because when you say I don't know, your brain starts to listen to you. And when you keep saying I don't know, it kind of fucks with your brain. So I'm just wondering if it's something you say throughout the day or if it's just to me.
I think that's something that I say throughout the day.
Yeah, you should try and be more aware of it because it's not who you are. You don't not know. You do know, Manny.
I don't know, but all I'm saying is that you shouldn't trust the vaccines. I mean, I'm on the side of choice.
Hey, look, it's not the vaccines. It's not the vaccines that I do or don't trust. It's modern medicine. It's for-profit medical industrial complex. They've lied to me my whole life. I do not trust them. It's the U.S. government. They've lied to me my whole life. I do not trust them. It's not the vaccines. It's the people behind the vaccines that I don't trust.
Well, I mean, since it was a choice, and since I believe in choice, I choose to get the vaccine.
Yeah, well, good for you, Manny. That's the way it should be.
It should be, but it should be a choice.
Yes.
And people should be aware of the negative consequences, health consequences of not taking the vaccine. Don't shame them. Don't excite them from society. Don't close their bank accounts. Don't put them in jail just because they choose not to. That should be their choice. But they should be aware of the health consequences of not taking, man.
Well,
that's how I believe.
Yeah, I think that people should be aware of the consequences of everything that they do. So, there you go.
All right, Max. Just want to say hi, and I saw the notification on Max News for tomorrow. What's going on, Max? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Interesting. I saw a notification for the Max News for tomorrow. Like, what the hell is wrong with Mike?
Yeah, what the hell is wrong with Mike? See, the thing is, Manny, is people ask that question on a regular basis, so I thought it's something we should probably discuss.
Oh, I see. Is it more like a throwaway show rather than an actual Max News show?
It's just a topic of discussion for tomorrow.
I see. Hey, by the way, I noticed on Sunday that you have a stream now. I'm sorry for the loss of your dog, Glenn. I know it meant a lot for you and a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah, she was my girl. I miss her every day.
But you get a cat.
No.
Anyway, Max. All right, man. Have a good day, Max. Take it easy.
Okay, Manny. Good to talk to you. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
All right, so, and I do believe that people should understand the consequences of everything that they do. So it's not just a matter of not getting the shot, it's a matter of getting the shot. There's consequences to that also. Just as everything in life, there's consequences when you have a shot of vodka, there's consequences when you take a bong hit, when you eat a steak. Everything, a butterfly flaps its fucking wings in Bolivia, and there's consequences on the other side of the fucking world. Okay? Don't you understand this? How it works, people? There's always consequences. It's not just with fucking vaccines. And tomorrow's show is titled "What the Hell is Wrong with Mike?" And the reason that it's titled that is because people ask that question all the time. So I thought we should probably talk about it, and talking about my girl, I thought of a story, like yesterday I had a story that I didn't tell on the tribute to her, and I thought of another story that I wish I would have told during the tribute to her, and that was, we used to go to the Goodwill all the time, right? She's a very smart girl. She was a good girl. She was a smart girl. She was a very aware and paid attention to everything, right? So, and I used to always say, you know how to get home from here? Pay attention. You need to go out and get home from here. I digress. We went to the Goodwill. We used to go to the Goodwill all the time before the plague. And when we go to the Goodwill, the first place that I stop is in the kids section in the toys, right? And I look at all the plushies to see if there's anything good for the dogs, because the dogs like stuffed animals. But you gotta have certain kind. You don't want them to have like glass eyes or plastic eyes or anything that they might swallow. Any plastic bits. So, I'm looking through the plushies, and there's an angry bird, like a red angry bird, right? And it looks pretty funny, and it's got the tags on it still, right? So you know that it hasn't been, if it's been used at all, it hasn't been used much. So it's got the tag on it. It says $1.99. Seems like a good plushie. So I buy that, and I buy a couple other things. I don't remember what I got for me. And we go back out to the car, and the dogs are there, and I'm like, hey, you're back. And I go, look what I got you. And I give this angry bird to Rufus, and he's like, and throws it down, right? And the girl, my girl, Sammy, she goes and grabs the angry bird, and within 60 seconds, she's got the angry bird talking. I didn't even know that it talked. Within 60 seconds, she got the angry bird going, hee 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 hee, and made some other noises too. But I was like, what the heck? First I was like, what the heck is that noise? And then I realized that she took this little plushie and she made it talk all on her own. I didn't go, look what it does. Very smart girl. And we got Angry Birds all over the house. After that one, I was like, I need more of these. So I went on the eBay and I found them for like $4 each or something. And there was like 2 or 3 different kinds that talk. One of them was a toucan. And so there's Angry Birds all over the house. And other plushies too. Like I said, when we go to the Goodwill, that's the first place I stop. So, got that going for me. Anyways, that was another story about my beautiful girl that I wanted to share, which I was remiss that I didn't share it on my tribute to her. So I'm going to play another video about vaccinate or lose your jobs. I'm going to play the one about the Seahawks. Okay, this is about if you go to the Seahawks games, you have to be vaccinated and you have to have a mask, right? And this video shows that is not true. So, and it also shows what restaurants are going through. And the reason that I added the restaurants in with the Seahawks is because you see two different levels of what people are being held accountable to. 2 different levels of accountability. The restaurants aren't allowed to have anybody in that's not vaccinated. The Seahawks aren't allowed to have anybody in. The restaurants are terrified to allow people in. The Seahawks are just like whatever. So, again, different levels of accountability, and it bothers me. So I'm going to put that on, and I'm going to go heat up my tea, and then we'll do a bong hit. Doesn't that sound like fun? Be right back.
Live look out at Lumen Field, where Seahawks and Sounders fans are required to present proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test before entering the stadium. That rule went into effect just in time for the Seahawks home opener on Sunday.
And masks were also required, but not everyone was wearing them. Here's King 5's Chris Daniels.
Good evening. We have heard the questions from viewers. How exactly will the vaccination mandate in King County be enforced? And can the state really enforce a mask mandate? We had our first test of the concept on Sunday with the Seahawks' first home game. And if you saw some of the images, it may have raised your eyebrow. We asked Governor Jay Inslee about it.
When you watched the Seahawks game on Sunday and you saw so many people without their masks cheering, what was your initial thought?
Well, first off, my thought is thanking the Seahawks for leading this effort for vaccinations and testing. They were one of the first outfits to do this. We really appreciate that because I do believe it will increase vaccinations. Ultimately, that's what we need. But look, the Hawks got up their game on masks. They get better every week. We need to get better on masks. It is required, so we'll look forward to that.
The Hawks game on Sunday was really the first litmus test for a vax mandate at sporting events, or what is to come in King County. Health officials on a statewide level said they were publicly concerned about how many people were seen in the stands without masks, and there have been questions about just how hard the Hawks looked for proof of vaccination. I asked the governor if it was incumbent on the state to come up with a digital system.
We're working on that. We have been for months now to perfect the system that we can do that.
King County Executive Dow Constantine told me last week he believes there will be bumps in the road as his county moves towards a vaccination mandate for anyone 12 and over at most venues. That goes into effect on October the 25th. For now, in Seattle, I'm Chris Daniels, King 5 News.
A lot of people have been sounding off on social media about what you saw at the game this week. And one viewer said, quote, "I attended that game with my 80-year-old mother, and the security attendant did ask to see my vaccination card, but did not verify by proof of ID that it was me, nor did he ask." Someone else responded and said, "The only reason the attendant saw my ID when she checked my vaccination card is because I shoved it in her face. Checking vaccination and negative test status was a joke."
Soon, every King County restaurant and bar will have to see proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test before you can get inside. Health leaders say the idea is to keep all of us safer as we battle the Delta variant. But Como's Michelle Esteban reports some restaurant operators and servers say they are dreading it.
California Avenue buzzing with traffic. But inside Inside the Great American Diner and Bar, empty chairs and empty tables.
We are in quicksand. We can't get out. We have to stay where we are and try to keep afloat.
A few tables at lunch is the new norm. Co-owner Glenn Quadron says business has been shaken to the core by COVID. Then the mask mandate, and now he's worried what the newest mandate requiring proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test at every King County restaurant and bar will do to business.
And I dread that day.
It starts next month.
But the sad part is it puts the servers and myself at a very awkward position.
Servers will essentially become vaccine card bouncers. The county insists it's a necessary layer of protection to make public spaces even safer for everyone. Aims to slow the virus's spread and relieve pressure on the healthcare system.
We have to technically offend people sometimes, you know, when we do those things.
He fears the same issues they've had with mask requirements, customers vowing to never come back, some get defiant, even hostile, and others who protest by leaving no tip.
They would write on the check slip, that they were not happy.
Does everybody have their vaccination card with them? You all do. But owners know it's not always that easy. Empyrean manager Jose Palma at the Huckleberry Square is hoping their all-day breakfast will be enough to keep customers.
A little bit worried.
They've already cut wages, raised prices, and added heated outdoor dining tents.
The bigger impact is them not trying to return back because we try to force them to do something they don't want to do.
That was KOMO's Michelle Esteban reporting. Proof of vaccination or a negative test will be required starting October 25th.
All right, so I have the bong heated up, and again, tomorrow night's show is titled "What the Hell is Wrong with Mike?" And it seems to be a very common question, and we should probably have a thorough discussion on it since so many people are wondering. Hello, caller.
Hey, Max.
What?
So I saw your video about the dining outside, though, and an interesting thing will happen, Max. You see, the people are starting to realize that working in an office really freaking sucks, man, and you don't even need to be in the office anymore. I mean, for example, me, I work in an office based on Lake Union, for a company based on Lake Union. We actually have several floors of that building for us to work. And ever since the pandemic, most of the people are working from home. Since I was one of the first vaccinated within the company, though, because I was vaccinated back in March of this year, this year. Yeah, back in March. I was asked to go back into the office and work 5 days a week, beginning in the summer. So I was back in Seattle in early July. But the funny part is, like, when the office was full, we were over 100 people just on that floor, and now we're just like 5 people, which include myself, Max.
Huh.
Well, why am I saying all of this, though? It's because a lot of the businesses in downtown rely on people working in downtown, though. You actually walk around downtown, like a couple of years ago, around noon. You'll see all the places full of people, subways, restaurants, gyms. Like, there was a lot of people, and most of those people were workers around the area, though. Like the local construction company, their local startup company, though. And now that those people are gone and they're working from home, or they just moved to Bellevue, they're just like, they're going to go down, though. And now it's full of homeless people now, Marks. And closed businesses, because nobody of the workers are there anymore. And all those dining businesses, I mean, first of all, nobody's going to eat over there anymore because all the businesses, a lot of the people are working from home. And the other thing is, you're asking for vaccination proof. You're basically gatekeeping because the government said so. And a lot of people choose not to get the vaccine because of whatever the reasons are. So I think the downtowns are going to collapse, man.
The restaurants are fucked, dude. Well, I think most businesses are pretty fucked right now, depending on how much. Some restaurants have giant followings, where no other restaurant compares, and then it depends on how how much DoorDash traffic they can get, takeout stuff.
Yeah, and that's another question, though. Can they rely on DoorDash? Can they rely on Uber Eats? Because I don't think that's even a sustainable model, though.
No, I don't think it is either. But for temporary, it's you got to do what you got to do.
Agreed.
But I think you're right. I think the restaurant business, especially in places like downtown and stuff like that, are really fucked.
And the other thing is, Mark, I mean, they overbuilt in downtown. If you actually go to downtown right now, you'll see a lot of construction going on, buildings. But that's because they signed contracts years ago, and they were planning years ago to build those buildings. But once they finish, what's going to happen to those buildings? Who are going to be the tenants? I mean, Amazon, they built the Rainier Square because that was going to be their central office. And now nobody's even working there anymore. They're subleasing it. And I don't even think anybody's planning to go into that building. So it just became a white elephant. Same thing with the Macy's building in downtown. So apparently nobody wants to open a business there anymore because nobody's going to downtown. And I think the Nordstrom in downtown is just a lost leader now.
I think that's a temporary situation. I really do. It's
you think so?
Yeah, because once this COVID thing is gone, if it ever is gone, people are going to want to get back to a more sense of normality, as opposed to all being separate. They like to be face to face for most things, unless they're in the middle of a deadly plague.
No. And I agree with the face-to-face, going back to normalcy, Max. But the genie is out of the bottle. We have maps. And a lot of places, all you need is very good, reliable internet and a computer to do the work from anywhere in the world. The job that I do, I just require a phone, which the company can provide me, and there's even ways to have phones within your computer, like a voice over IP or cloud-based phone. A good computer and a good internet connection, though. And a lot of the meetings are just done through Microsoft Teams or Zoom.
Yeah, I mean, but that's not something new, Manny. This is how it's been for a long time. It's just become more normal. And my point is, if it hadn't been pushed to become more normal, then, it wouldn't be normal. It'd be very abnormal because, like I was saying, people like to be able to look each other in the eyes and, feel like, they understand the person that they're doing business with, and I think that you lose partially that over the internet. So I guess my point, what I'm trying to say, Max, is that the whole pandemic opened a kind of worms, or left the genie out of the bottle when it comes to the dynamics of work. Yeah.
They have a lot of workers who don't want to go back into the office.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of aspects of work that people probably didn't even know existed until this thing. So.
And the other thing, and you can talk to your friend, what's it called, the guy over the phone who screened the phones.
Uh-huh.
How much business has increased because of the whole pandemic? Because everyone is trying to increase their network capacity and trying to work from home and trying to do all this cool stuff.
Yeah, it hasn't increased that much. Craig has always been pretty much full schedule, so.
Yeah, which is good though.
Yeah.
Especially right now.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not competitive.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mark, and I think that's gonna die, dude. And it's gonna happen. What happened in 2008? A lot of the prices are gonna collapse on those buildings. A lot of people are gonna go bankrupt, and we're gonna be fucked though, because a lot of those, for some reason, if you have a retirement account, if you have investment, you're exposed to that. Just like it's happening with China right now, with the whole Evergrande situation.
Screw your freedom. Screw your freedom.
Okay, man, I gotta go.
Screw your freedom. Screw your freedom. Screw your freedom. Screw your freedom.
Okay, man, I'll talk to you soon.
Screw your freedom.
Okay, bye.
Screw your freedom.
There's my girl. My Boo Bear's gone. Let's see. Were you saying this video is stuttering? Is this video? I think Wilco was saying that my video is stuttering. I know the other drone videos, some of them do. Like this one stutters for sure. but I thought this one was playing pretty smoothly. Let me know. All right, so I have more videos. I'm just going to play videos because I have like 3 more videos that I want to get through. So I'm going to play this next one, which is models. Like, I think they're Victoria's Secret models, or very well-known models are saying that people should have the right to choose whether or not they get vaccinated. And this is one of the things that I talk about a lot, is that the people with the loudest microphones have the biggest responsibility to speak out, right? So, and the reason I say this is because generally when I say that, it has to do with Palestinians, right? How the Palestinians, because, you know, these people in Hollywood love to have these causes for the downtrodden, right? And they have loud microphones, and that's why it's important to have people like them talking about, you know, the people who desperately need help. They never talk about the Palestinians. And, you know, the point being that if you have a very loud microphone, you have a responsibility to do your best to speak truth, especially when it seems important to the entire world. So, and in my viewpoint, the Palestinians are important to the entire world. So, unfortunately, many people do not agree with me. I'm going to play a vaccine, the models. I'm going to play the movie clip about the models. Clip number 12. It's a very short clip. I'll be right back.
Well, Layla, speaking of decision making, 2 former Victoria's Secret models being slammed for speaking out against vaccine mandates over the weekend. Dutch model, and forgive me for not knowing how to pronounce her name, I believe it's Delson Kraus, wrote in an Instagram post, "I will not be forced to take the shot. I will not be forced to prove my health to participate in society. I will not accept exclusion of people based on their medical status." Fellow model Giselle Bundchen came to her defense saying, "I can't believe the hate being directed at her because she expressed her feelings." Shouldn't lawmakers in this country protect our medical choices the way they do our race, religion, and sexual orientation?
The only role of the government should be to protect our freedoms, and it seems like that has just gone completely out the window. I'm so glad to see people with huge platforms and followings like these 2 models speak out, and like Nicki Minaj last week. But here's the thing, if you're an American, you don't necessarily have to have a large platform like these 2 women. You can go out there and you can say, I diametrically oppose anything of this sort. It is un-American by nature.
Layla Pirney and Adam Waldeck, thank you guys. Appreciate the discussion here on the Salcedo Show.
Screw your freedom. Screw your freedom. Screw your freedom. Screw your freedom. Screw your freedom.
I think we should play that at the end of every COVID clip. Because this is how elitist type of people feel about your freedom. As I was saying, the only real threat to your freedom is not China, it's not Russia, it's inside this country. It's the government of this country, the people who took a vow to do their best to protect your freedom above and beyond all else, right? And here's one of those people, Governor of California. Screw your freedom. Screw your freedom. That's Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor of California. Again, our government saying, screw your freedom, because that's the way they look at it. They look at it as if you don't actually have freedom. Who the fuck told you you have freedom? Screw your freedom, right? And what are you going to do about it? You're going to fucking slap Arnold Schwarzenegger? I mean, if I was there and he said that, I imagine that would probably be a consideration, because you don't talk like that about my freedom. Okay? Screw your freedom, fuckhead. Okay? Go ahead and say, screw my freedom, but mean you. It doesn't have anything to do with me. You want to give up your freedom? That's your God-given right. According to the founding fathers, you have the right to do what you want. So you don't have the right to infringe upon what other people want to do, Arnold. So screw your freedom, pal. Screw your freedom. I would very much like to see your freedom taken away just for making statements like that. Because if that's the way you feel about other people's freedom, sounds like you're a danger to us all. So you know. What the hell is wrong with Mike? Which is the title of tomorrow night's show. Be sure and tune in. Set your reminders now. Let's see. I'm not getting any phone callers. No, I'm not. So I'm gonna play another video. What the hell is wrong with Mike? Vaccinate or lose your job. We were talking about this earlier. Really, it's a big part of what this show is about. The vaccine mandates, the people saying screw your freedom. And again, it's not just that it's vaccine mandates and people in general saying I don't want a vaccine, right? It's first responders. First responders. I have a video about a lawsuit, and I'll play the other one about lose your job. But it's first responders. At least these are the stories that I'm seeing focused on in local news, which I really think they should be showing more in national news. In national news, there's zero dissenting voice. Like there is no other opinion besides Fauci, you know, and. That again, this is what I'm talking about being the threat to your freedom. The only real threat to your freedom is this government that thinks it rules over you. That's not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be there to protect your freedom, not rule over it. So where was I? I was talking about mandates. Right? So mandates lawsuit. This is about a lawsuit like hundreds, if not more than hundreds of first responders. Okay, and I've been talking about first responders now for months. Right? First responders are saying we are not going to get your vaccine. You can't tell us to get a vaccine. First responders who have been on the front lines for the last 18 months, the first people exposed to this disease, this whatever it is, the first people exposed to it, firefighters, nurses, nursing home caregivers, there's others. But most, police officers, okay? So these are the first responders, the people on the front lines, the people who've been there seeing and experiencing COVID up real close and saying, yeah, we don't want the vaccine. So there's, like I said, there's all these things that don't add up. This is one of the things, right? Nurses, police officers, these were some of the first people offered access to the vaccines. Okay, 18 months later, after being through all this horrible plague, seeing all the horror close up, they're like, yeah, we don't want your vaccine. There's something weird going. I mean, why would you even wait 18 months if the horror is right there in front of your face all day long? If people are just piling out of the ICU units and we're having to turn away people who need heart surgery. You know, why would you risk it? Why wouldn't you just get that vaccine? If you're a first responder, if you've been there all this time, why? Makes no sense. This is about a vaccine mandate lawsuit. I think these are going on across the country, and I don't know. Well, I guess I do know why it's not getting more press. It's like the same reason that that there is no dissenting voice in the press. You know, it's just this is the way it is. You know, shut up and take it. This is, I would imagine, this is just, you know, the general Washington state area. It may be a smaller area than that, but I would imagine that this is going on in states back and forth across this country. And I'd love to know. So if you hear stuff like this going on with first responders in your state, let me know. I'm going to play this video about the vaccine mandate lawsuit from first responders. Pay attention.
Hundreds more first responders, medical workers, and state employees are joining the lawsuit over the state's COVID vaccine mandate. Their challenge comes about 4 weeks before the deadline. King 5's Ted Land spoke with an unvaccinated firefighter who was part of that suit.
William Cleary and his wife Shara Ray say they're unvaccinated and don't plan to get the shots. He's a firefighter in the Seattle area. She works at a major hospital, and both could lose their jobs after October 18th, Washington's deadline for many first responders, medical workers, and state employees to get vaccinated.
Where I work, we are possibly looking at losing up to 150 people.
Cleary's wife sought a medical exemption because she's pregnant and there are complications. But according to court documents, it was denied. William just filed a religious exemption with his employer, who he's not naming.
For me, it's a matter of conscience. And so that's basically what I focused on mine was my conscience. And if you listen to your conscience, it's essentially listening to the word of God.
They and roughly 600 others are joining a lawsuit challenging Governor Inslee's vaccine mandate, arguing he overstepped his authority.
Those are decisions that need to be made by the legislature in accordance with our state's constitution, which is the supreme law of our land.
The governor's office, responding to an earlier version of the lawsuit, said, quote, "These requirements are legal, and we look forward to responding in court, where to date, no challenge to the governor's use of his emergency powers has been successful. His use of this authority is appropriate given the extraordinary circumstances of this pandemic. It is not unreasonable to ask public servants to protect the public from being infected with COVID." The Department of Health says it appears more people are getting vaccinated, in part because of the state's mandate.
Rates were down, vaccination rates in July, and we have seen a 20 to 30% increase since then. So obviously there's probably multiple factors, but the vaccine requirements are probably part of that.
The plaintiffs want a judge to overturn the mandate, but they have less than 4 weeks left to argue their case. This latest version of the lawsuit includes the state fire marshal among those challenging the governor.
Obviously, we've read a lot about this. You get into the medical exemptions, which don't happen very often. Then you've got a lot of people talking about seeking religious exemptions, but not a lot of churches have come out against the vaccine. So then what becomes the basis for it?
Right. We've been getting a lot of questions about this from viewers and others who are concerned about it. One explanation is that the religion section of the Federal Civil Rights Act of 1964 makes some accommodations. It states that religion includes all the familiar organized churches, but also beliefs that are not part of a formal church. The act states that an employee's belief can be religious even if only a few or perhaps no other people adhere to it. The problem many employees are running into is that once they file an exemption, their employer can accept that, but then they argue they cannot make accommodations for the employee to keep working there, like daily testing.
Gotcha. It's not just cut and dry. Okay. Ted, thanks.
Ted, thank you.
What's happening?
Michael, I didn't even call to talk to you. I called to talk to Greg.
He's not here right now.
Where the fuck's he at?
I don't know. He's got some new hot girlfriend you can't get enough of.
Oh. Getting that pootan.
Man.
Yeah, I wouldn't be manning the fucking phone lines either. Fuck that. So what do you want to talk about, Mike?
I'm hungry.
You're hungry? I just ate. I had a steak and some beef stroganoff.
Huh. Sounds like you're showing off to me. I'm going to go have chicken soup.
I'm not showing off. The fuck's wrong with you, Mike?
Yeah, that's why I say people keep asking that question.
That's tomorrow's show, is what the fuck's wrong with you, huh?
Something to that effect.
You know what I think's wrong with you?
I don't really care.
But tomorrow's show is all about what's wrong with Mike.
Right.
You do care.
Right. I don't care. You don't seem to understand. I don't give a fuck.
You care. You're gonna care tomorrow.
No, I don't think
No, I
so.
gotta call you. I guess I'll just call you tomorrow.
All right. Good plan.
All right. I'll fuck with you then, fruitcake.
Good luck with that.
All right. No problem, buddy.
I'm not your buddy, pal. Not your pal, buddy. And I seriously don't give a fuck. See, the thing is this isn't a new question. You know, people think like, oh, you know, what is wrong with this guy? Like, they're the first ones ever to ask that question, you know. And I've explained this to you. In my first day of kindergarten, I was sent home with a note that said, "What the fuck is wrong with Mike?" First day of kindergarten, okay? So this is not a very original question. But it's been a long-standing question, so it's probably a good question, and we should probably have a discussion about it. That's tomorrow night, 7 p.m., Friday, Dabs for Donations Friday. Let's make it happen, people. Set your reminders now. I have 2 videos left. I'm gonna play one since I don't have a caller. Somebody just called and then apparently hung up. But I have a video about vaccinate or lose your job, which was kind of what the last video was about, but it was more about a lawsuit saying, you know, you're overstepping your bounds, and this is really the same story, but it's not, this is a national story as opposed to a local one. And again, there needs to be more discussion from this other angle, you know. And I don't think that there's really discussion here. I think they say, oh yeah, it's perfectly legit. You can, you know, tell people they have to shit and standing upside down if, you know, if the governor says so. So I'm gonna play that video, and then I have a video about, actually, I'm going to play this one about the Wuhan lab real quick. I have a video about the Wuhan lab, and I lead the video off with a clip of Kamala Harris. And I'm not going to go all the way through the video. It's like 6 minutes long. I don't feel like doing a 6-minute long video right now. What I feel like is having some chicken soup. It does sound pretty good. So I want to play that. I want to play the other video, maybe. But I want to play this one where I put the clip of Kamala Harris at the beginning and have a quick discussion about that, which could extend into a little longer discussion if you like, but I don't want to just go on and on if nobody else wants to talk about it. If you do want to talk about it, the telephone number is right there on the screen, 805-669-6397, 805-MOX News On. Play this clip, and I'll be back. I don't think I'm going to play the whole clip, but I want to talk about it, so...
A future in which we can stop biological threats before they start. A future in which we can stop biological threats before they start.
What happened in Wuhan that caused the death of more than 680,000 Americans? The plot is thickening today. Leaked documents reveal a plan to create a coronavirus in the Wuhan lab that would be more infectious to humans. Then release it into bat caves so that they could then vaccinate them and see if they could make the bats better. They also plan to inject these supercharged viruses into what they called and worked with humanized mice, mice that have the internal organs and systems that are more similar to humans, so that they could see how sick it would make them. And gee, let's see if we can make them better with these vaccines that we're working on. But a research group known as Drastic reports that documents show the U.S. Defense Department at some point refused to fund the plan because of the risk. Let's bring in David Asher, who led a State Department task force looking into the origins of COVID-19. and the role of the Chinese government. He revealed that there was a military aspect.
Okay, hold on just a sec. I'll be right back. Hold on.
Sometimes life can be a little...
That one right there.
A future in which we can stop biological threats before they start. A future in which we can stop biological threats before they start.
Okay, now at that Fox News clip, the one with Camilla was a local clip, but the Fox News clip, they talked about how the research was doing this, trying to make things more susceptible to human beings, and you know, the funding. See, we've seen a lot of information that says much of the funding for the Wuhan lab come from the United States. Now, Camilla Harris says
a future in which we can stop biological threats before they start.
A future where we can stop biological threats before they start. We could do that right now. We could do that immediately by shutting down all the biological, all the laboratories, all the biological weapons laboratories around the world that the United States funds, right? And just go, boom, this is done, lock it up, blow it up, whatever you do with something like that. We could do that immediately. Camilla Harris has no interest in a future
in which we can stop biological threats before they start.
A future where we can stop biological threats before they start. Obviously, this came out of a lab. We could have stopped it before it started if the funding had been cut. Things like this are going in all around. How many labs are like this are around the world? You know, and why are there labs that can create viruses that can make the entire planet sick? Why is anybody doing experiments like that? How short-sighted can you possibly be? What could possibly go wrong? I mean, that's the only question you have to ask, and then you think, well, let's get rid of all these biolabs so that maybe, you know, we won't have these accidents in the future.
A future in which we can stop biological threats before they start.
A future.
So, to me, it doesn't seem like she's sincere. Now, I don't think she's sincere about anything. I'm going to do a show coming up here on whether or not she is electable, if she's, you know, has any ability to be elected after her run as vice president. But that's for the future. That remains to be seen. A future where we can stop biological threats before they start, right? That future could be now, except for this person and her boss doesn't want it to be now. So that means that if they don't do it now, then when? They'll never do it. It's complete and utter bullshit. You know, I mean, it'd be so easy for her to say, we've realized the danger that potentially exists in labs like this, and we are immediately beginning to defund all of our own operations that have anything to do with whatever they talk about, human transmission. I forget the word they use. You know, we're going to stop that. We're going to phase it all out. We're going to stop all of that immediately. You know, and all these other things. It's like with nuclear weapons, you know. Nuclear weapons is you can't use nuclear weapons. Unless we're talking about, you know, a suitcase-sized nuke. You can't use nuclear weapons. We're talking about ICBM missiles with a nuclear warhead on it. You can't do that. You use one of those, the entire planet's fucked. So it's a worthless deterrent. You can't use biological weapons because obviously they spread in the blink of an eye, and they don't pick and choose who they spread to, unless of course you don't have internet or television, and then it doesn't seem to spread there quite as quickly. What the hell is wrong with this guy laughing at people getting sick? What the hell is wrong with Mike? Let's see. So I don't see them wanting to stop, or wanting to have a future where biological threats don't exist. I am going to go have some chicken soup. I'm going to have some chicken noodle soup. Lipton, that's the good stuff. Lipton chicken noodle soup with extra chicken and sriracha. Oh, sounds so good, doesn't it? Making my mouth water. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. We do this every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Tomorrow night, we're doing the What the Hell is Wrong with Mike episode, which could be a very interesting discussion. I really hope that it is. And I hope that you will be there. And that you'll be there each and every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Same Mox time, same Mox channel. Until then, stay cool, because one of these days, this war is going to end. Stay cool till then.
No matter which mouth you feed on a two-headed snake, it still shits the same turd. But lucky for you, you have Mox News. More than 10 years. More than 60,000 videos. Mox News has been filtering the nonsense and illuminating the bullshit from your mainstream media. Turn off your TV and turn on to Mox News. For over a decade, documenting the socio-political events that have etched and carved the pathways that define today's modern mess, Mox News has been providing clarity while faithfully bringing you today's relevant stories 100% commercial-free and subscription-free. And just like Lady Liberty vows to remain free. But at this time, we're asking you for your help, your patronage, and your support to keep the lights on and the videos rolling. For less than 17 cents per day, you can become a basic subscriber, knowing that your donation is truly making a difference that will help continue bringing the news stories that make a difference in your life. Turn on, tune in, and drop a couple dimes today by clicking the link below or visiting moxnews.com and show your support at any level. From a single one-time donation or dedicated monthly subscriber, do it now in less than 2 minutes. All donations are safe, securely processed, and verified using PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Discover Card. As always, we're sure you'll find something of interest each and every day. This holiday season, give the gift of Mox. moxnews.com.
I mean, this coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. I wish the coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. Coalition of misfits.